on one of the, mic stand open.
Don't come here, people.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Okay.
How are we looking, Dustin?
You got 30 seconds.
It says 6:31 here. I'm in trouble. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Lake City Council meeting. Today is September 9th, 2025. Please go ahead and stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
And
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll need to work on that. All right. City staff, can you please establish a quorum?
Councilmember Napier,
Here.
Councilmember Louis Lusso,
Here.
Councilmember Sawatsky,
Here.
Councilmember Scafani,
Here.
and Councilmember Bayless.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I had a question about the agenda's title. It indicates it's a special council meeting. I wanted to clarify that if we are going to move to 2 meetings a month, is this a special meeting?
This is a special meeting.
Okay. Fabulous.
Great.
You like to
Second,
Thank you.
Was there any? I wondered about making any changes. Is everybody happy with the order in here?
I think generally we've decided that unless there's a real reason to move something around, that we keep it consistent so that folks who see the items on the list come in potentially when the item.
There was also another issue of we have a couple of agenda items where we have different guests who are present. So I was trying to find a way in which to kind of balance them out. And then the items that don't have guests, they're at the bottom or the back end of the agenda.
And Jill, just confirm if something did come up where we had to move it, we could table it and then bring it back off the table. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Well, you wouldn't want to table it. You would continue it. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. And just to confirm, we do not have to take public input on the agenda, or we do have to take public input?
It's always a good practice to go ahead and take public comment on non-agenda items. And then, of course, you'll still take public comment on each one of the items that the council will be discussing.
Great. I'll go ahead and open up the.
Oh.
Do you want to vote on your approval of the agenda?
I think I wanted to clarify, John, were you asking if we wanted public comment on approval of the agenda itself?
That's what I was
Oh,
asking.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that piece.
Okay.
It's your agenda.
Okay,
Whatever you normally do, you don't have to.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
me, second.
Second by Louis Lusso. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes. All right, moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. The public is invited to present petitions, make announcements, or provide other information to the city that is relevant to the scope and authority of the city of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. The council may provide up to 15 minutes for the public input session to assure each individual presentation is heard. The council may uniformly impose time limits of 3 minutes to each individual presentation. The public will be given the opportunity to address the items that are on the agenda at the time the council takes up each specific agenda item. I'll go ahead and open up the floor for public comment. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, Adeline, go ahead.
Adeline Jones. From the Lost Coast Outpost, Humboldt County must plan for 5,926 new homes over the next decade. About a third of those, between 1,530 and 1,855 new units, should be built in the city of Eureka by 2035. Here in Blue Lake, our own mandate is about 40 affordable dwellings. The Bottawatt Community Affordable Housing Project fulfills this mandate perfectly. The sign in front of City Hall is very cute, population 1234, but it's outdated. We've actually lost about 100 people since the last census. It's estimated that the Bottawatt Community Affordable Housing Project will bring about 90 to 100 people to Blue Lake. We have the water and we have the sewer capability. We have folks in Blue Lake who are one rent hike away from being homeless. Let's move forward with our plans for affordable housing in the Powers Creek district.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Our current land assessment, we have all kinds of different lots that we will have opportunities to go to, including potentially 20 acres across the street there. Depending on if the city decides to go forward and turn that into housing, which is the Blue Lake Power thing, we have those options. Those were discussed at the Planning Commission meeting last night. We have all kinds of options. Part of the problem we find interesting with these RENA numbers is only about approximately in the past, don't know about the current, but about half of them have to be the lower range, the other half to be in the upper range. And so any project we have that you would be counting on to satisfy all of our RENA numbers would have to have that diversified kind of a breakdown as far as who you're renting to, who you're requiring to be rent to as far as qualifications go. I strongly feel that we have a lot better smaller projects that we can use around the area to do actual infill in residential areas and projects that will lend themselves more to fulfilling our RENA numbers as we are required to do. So I think all options should be looked at rather than one specific one. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Great, thank you. Any further public comment? Julie Christie, go ahead.
Good evening. Audio for you guys tonight.
Great, thank you.
I can hear you guys fairly well, but at planning, I could actually almost hear the planning commission a little bit better than you guys last night. So just putting that out there. I don't know if there's an option on the Zoom to turn up volume for participants. So I got some things to jump around on, but I would like to just start with I would like to get a community commission workshop going. I've gone to the commission meetings recently. If anybody's reviewed those recordings, it kind of consolidates my idea that we have a workshop for each commission and something fun for the kids to do and a way to kind of bring our community together with like some surveys and envisioning, but make it kind of a one hub, one stop kind of thing. And maybe like something fun during winter when it's raining and stuff slows down. So I'd like to promote that. And as far as our first speaker's comments, at HCOG is actually the one that's going to work with HCD on distributing the allocations. And there was very good comments during that meeting from both Arcata, Eureka, and Supervisor Natalie Arroyo, and the retrospect aspect that these mandates that the state is putting on is very umbrella, and that our region and infrastructure and economy is very unique and diverse compared to the rest of the state. So they're actually going to have the HCD come in to HCOG and help deliberate those allocations. So that's something that I think our community should have a voice in during that time in that meeting. We have Kat as our liaison for HCOG, so please keep us posted when you guys will be meeting with HCD and getting that rolling. And also on the agendas, it was mentioned to me by my sister that we now have on the link, it's like a clickable link on our agenda, the blue highlighted link, and you click it. But some people aren't really familiar with that right now. And if you take a screenshot of it and share it with somebody, they can't click it. So if we could keep having the password and the that meeting ID, both the meeting ID and password printed on the agendas, I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people to participate. Thank you.
All right, last call for public comment before we move on to the next item. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda item number 4. Jill just confirmed there is no consent agenda, so how
That's
do we
correct.
handle that? Do we just
I
continue on?
just had it there as a numbering.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to item number 5. Discuss and set date for special municipal election for recall of 1 council member position. City staff, would you like to fill us in on this?
Certainly, at their meeting that was held on August 27th, the council members had voted unanimously to approve Resolution 1239, which basically certified the sufficiency or insufficiency of the recall petitions that had been to seek removal of 3 of the council members, and then to continue the item for setting the municipal election date until this evening, September 9th. So we are now at September 9th. And council must now decide to select a Tuesday between December 9th and January 12th for the election to determine whether the elections will be conducted entirely by mail or with a polling place as well as mail. And council is also asked to request that the Humboldt County Registrar of Voters perform full services related to the conduct of the special municipal election. In addition, if the desire is for the polling location as well, that we would waive the cost associated with the renting of Prash Hall, which is your normal polling location. So those are the three things that we're looking for. As far as the general discussion, we had a pretty robust conversation the last go round. This is just in here as background information for folks who may or may not have been in attendance at the last meeting or the discussion. So that was just here. So unless there's any other questions, the primary question before you today is for you to deliberate and set a date for that special election. We do have Nicole Goldsmith, and I'm going to suddenly. Thank you. Why don't you come out of here?
Any questions in terms of administrating the election?
Yeah. Always make sure that you're on the microphone.
Usually enough of a loudmouth to just shout it out. But
It's
my
all
name
good.
is Nicole Goldbuck. I'm the Humboldt County Elections Manager. I'm here on behalf of Juan Pablo Cervantes, our registrar of voters, to help out, I guess, during any questions that may arise during discussion. So I'll just be here and I'll stand to the mic if anybody has any questions, unless you want to shoot any off currently.
Great, thank you.
No, I'll see you. Thank you.
I have one question right away.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm kind of jumping line on the question or on the items that we have, but when it comes to determining whether it's a ballot only or ballot and in-person voting,
Correct.
do you have an idea of the staff cost or the overall cost for the in-person voting? Even, let's say that we waive the Prash Hall use, but
Yeah.
as far as on the county and how much is on the in-person voting?
So I wouldn't be able to give an exact figure at this time. I can give you just a little bit of background of what would go into administering the election.
Okay.
So roughly we would need a manager at this site for 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But really the shift is 6 a.m. till when getting cleaned up. And sometimes it'll go 6 a.m. all the way till 10 p.m. And for that time, I will need 6 staff minimum, paid $16.29 hourly, as well as a manager being paid out as at a manager rate of, I believe, roughly $20.29 an hour. On top of that, we will have staff at our office working through that as well, paid at their salary rate, and we have staff. So that would factor in. To be on the really just broader end of things, it would add $1,000 or more dollars. To be safe, can say that is a couple. Simply because we have to move machinery. We also work with Humboldt Moving and Storage to get our equipment down there. Planning with Prash Hall, it's not necessarily just an election day one for that in-person voting. It takes a lot of preparation as well as manpower and hours that would go into that overall cost.
Okay.
So I will say it is going to add. It is going to balloon the budget as opposed to just an all-mail ballot.
Okay, thank you. That's really illuminating too for us to know that it isn't just at that moment, but all of that preparation, moving the equipment, et cetera.
As
And-
well as factoring in 4 hours of training per person who will be working in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to
Mandated,
know.
yeah.
So you're saying roughly, and I know we don't hold your feet to the fire, but
Yeah.
about $2,000 would be what the city would want to budget or consider to budget for that
I would feel
Part.
comfortable saying at least.
at
that,
least.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we would, as just a government agency, we always love to look for cost savings and look where we can to save dollars. But I just want to give you guys a comfortable number. So when you guys do get the bill and invoice in the end of it, aren't completely shocked at the dollar amount.
Can you speak to the number of voters who have used a local polling place recently?
Absolutely. So as you all know, in the primary presidential election in March of 2024, there was a Prash Hall voting location, and it was removed going into the general election. We had such low turnout of in-person voters. I believe we didn't even reach triple digits, where most of our voting locations reach 1,500 and above. So I'll say under 200 folks over the course of 4 days did not show up, and so we had to reallocate resources. So in-person voting, I will say, is very low in your jurisdiction. But we did get a lot of calls about wanting in-person voting in Blue Lake. So I will say that your jurisdiction is one that likes the option of in-person voting. It's just not an option that's often exercised.
Okay. So is that calls when that wasn't an available option in this last election?
As we moved into the November general presidential election, we did not have Prash Hall as a vote center any longer, and we received 3 calls in total.
Okay.
of upset voters in your jurisdiction who wish they would have had that option, although all 3 voters did vote by mail in the primary.
Terry, do you have any questions? No. Okay, great. I have none. Any further questions from council?
I just had a question, I think, for interim city manager Duffy on the recommendation of the combination of mail-in and in-person voting. It was in both of our packets. The staff recommends the combination of mail-in and in-person. Can you just kind of speak to that? I mean, I think I kind
Yeah.
of get the gist of why, but can you
Certainly.
kind of expand
Yeah,
on that a little
the
bit?
short answer is that is typically a general preference that most communities have. Nicole has presented some information that was unknown to me at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I think it's actually really fascinating that she has some real specific information that she's able to put, into the discussion. I think in terms of cost, prior to the special election being called by the governor, I think that Juan was looking at being able to use this as kind of a training opportunity, especially for some of the volunteers and different things like this. He was wanting to spend some time. And I think it's going to be a little harder for them to achieve that because of what the demand is going to be relative to the special election. So the recommendation was just recognizing in general, people really like to have that option. But this is also very helpful information in real time, much more than I've had before.
And I
Right.
believe Jill and I worked on some language in this, so you guys would have that option.
Right.
of
Mhm.
Both presented in front of you, so you can motion however
Sure.
you'd see fit.
Correct.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I do have a follow-up question for you. Do you think this would be a good test to see if we can get people to come back to the voting booth, or do you think?
So
what are
we
your thoughts on
have, we do have the data, and I will say we as a Vote Center County, we already have our election administration planned for the next election year.
Mhm.
So the gubernatorial primary and general of next year set in place, and we do not intend to bring a Vote Center back to Prashall.
Great, thank you. Alrighty. If there's no further questions, I'll open it up to the public.
Thank you.
All right, does the public wish to comment on this item? Yes, Marty, go ahead.
Well, Marty Granger, maybe I didn't hear everything she was saying, but it seems odd to me to have mailing in when we're all in this little tiny community. It would be more expensive to send out ballots and then mail them back. It just seems odd that it wouldn't just be in person.
Great, thank you.
Can I speak to that really
Yeah.
quick?
Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
It's in the state of California, it's a legal requirement that all elections are all mail as of 2020. So no matter what election we administer in the state of California, it will be an all mail ballot no matter what.
I was going to bring forward the same comment. Basically, we're going to have to do it no matter what. It is the current thing. There are certain people, and I don't agree with in Washington, D.C., that think mail-in ballots should not be done. I have faith in Juan and the system here. I think it's a great program we have. See no reason to go ahead and spend $2,000 more that we don't have. I think that as testified here, there were 3 people that were irate about it or something, but they voted anyway. I think we're all used to it, and I strongly suggest we don't have the polling place, especially since it's not going to happen in the future anyway. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on the
All right. Julie Christie, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes. First off, I just do not condone the recall. Anybody I talk to does not condone it. So, in that aspect, I would advise our council to go in the direction that's going to be the least amount of wasteful public fund expenditure. And so I understand other elections might procure more need for in-person mail-in, but I don't want to see any more waste of public funds on this situation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question maybe for you.
about turnout, because I think this election will probably hinge a lot on people's feelings. The people who feel the most strongly about this issue will probably be the ones who will make the most efforts to vote. So it seems to me like it's most important to make sure everyone can easily access the ability to vote in this election, because we want to have really a fair representation and not just the representation by the people who feel the strongest about the issue. So I don't know, because I don't know that much about elections, if having both options might encourage a broader expanse of people to vote versus just mail in or making it restricted in any way. So that would be important to me, that we hear from the majority of all of the citizens.
Great, thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, go ahead.
I think my greatest concern is the way that this special election falls, because it's going to fall after Christmas. They're going to get ballots either before or after Christmas. They're going to go through 2 holidays if it goes to the 6th. And people are really busy and set things aside. And I think it's one of those kind of things that there should be an opportunity at the last minute to go to the polling place if you haven't mailed in your ballot. So I just think there's so many circumstances and time constraints and holidays that I think everyone should have the opportunity to get out there and vote.
Great, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Any further public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for discussion and
Well,
We have,
sorry.
yeah, well, we kind of started based on a question. The thrust of the conversation needs to be the establishment of a date.
yeah.
And you haven't had that conversation.
Okay.
So, yeah, don't
So-
move too fast.
I apologize. I jumped ahead. Nicole was there and took the opportunity. Thank you.
I have a question related to that. Couple things actually. So I spoke with Juan several weeks ago, and I also asked Jill what the preferable notes on here were based on. And I was told that preference came from Juan, from your department, I'm not sure. And that it was based on projections for voter turnout. But I also see that there's no analysis of the January 6th date. No for or against on that. And so I'm wondering, did you do the same type of projection for all 3 of these dates as, or did you not analyze January 6th?
I think at the last meeting, when it was delayed, January 6th was added as an option because so when this election is called, we by elections code have to call it 88 to 135 days. And at the time, under the assumption that it was on the agenda for the last meeting, we factored in 88 to 135 days from that date. So the January 6th was added after the fact. So at that point, it was just an added date. But the preference was to basically say the December 23rd and the December 30th, you were asking for the lowest of turnout. It's Christmas for many folks who celebrate, as well as New Year's Day for everybody. So we were just giving our 2 cents of elections, that putting it right before the holidays, especially even whether it be in person or all mail ballot, is just not preferable. So the January 6th was added after the fact.
Okay.
But that would still be considered preferable.
Okay.
We just wanted to skirt around the December 23rd
Oh, gotcha.
and 30th
Okay.
option because
So there's no like election magic that you applied to these dates that said one was better than the other.
No. Simply just the 2 dates that fell the Tuesdays prior to those major holidays.
Okay.
We just wanted to give all information, but of course you can choose those dates still as a council. It was just our 2 cents that voters will likely not show up as often or give their ballots when they're focused on the holidays.
Right. And one also shared with me that the ballots and voter information would likely be mailed together approximately 30 days prior to the election date.
Yeah, we are legally held to 30 days before the election date. So for example, if December 9th is the chosen election day, 29 days prior, those will be hitting the mailboxes.
Okay.
So
And-
so it is, we're held to a certain date. It wouldn't be approximately.
Okay. And so technically, as soon as somebody gets their ballot in the mail, they can open that ballot, they can mark it, they can seal it and put it right back into the mail that same day.
Correct. As well as even on election day, as
Mhm.
Tuesdays, post office is open, they can fill it out same day and still give it back to the post office.
And will there be a drop box in Blue Lake where people can go other than the mailbox to drop a ballot?
That could be decided. So we are administering the election on behalf of your city, so
Okay.
that can be decided and added in. The Dropbox situation would be a lot less intensive in terms of staffing.
Uh-huh.
So it'd simply be open and available and checked routinely, just as it is for most elections. And right at 8 p.m., there will only be 2 staff closing it down and bringing it back to our office to administer. So that is definitely an option, a route you all can take if you wanted a drop-off location. And our office in Eureka will consistently, we have a Dropbox open 24 hours outside of our office, as well as in our lobby during business hours.
Okay.
And those will always be available to your city to use.
Okay.
And we also, just to speak a little bit on accessibility in terms of folks who kind of mentioned it during public comment, where we always will have access to remote access vote by mail and means of folks if anybody needs help. We get a lot of calls to our office during elections, and we'll help out any folks who need that. Despite there's no cost included for our office to help out any folks who are having accessibility issues. No matter how we administer an election, it'll always be accessible to all in any jurisdiction.
So can you speak to the difference between having an in-person polling place where there's a whole bunch of staff and having a Dropbox option that same day that would be located in Blue Lake?
The difference would be a voter could come in on that day and without bringing in their vote by mail ballot, they'll simply be able to come up, check in as a voter, and get their ballot printed on demand with the one question that'll be on the ballot, vote and vote their ballot in person rather than in a vote by mail envelope where they're putting it in, say, a Dropbox to get processed later.
So if somebody wanted to vote, but they'd lost their mail-in ballot, they wouldn't have an option to vote unless we have an in-person polling place.
Not at all. That's what I was mentioning. At no extra cost, our office is always available. So let's say, and this is very common in Humboldt, those vote by mails, especially if the mail gets wet, their envelope gets sticky or something happens to it, they can always have the accessible option to call our office, and we would work with them to either send them a secondary vote by mail ballot or have the option to come in to our office in Eureka to retrieve a secondary vote by mail ballot. Yeah, we always want people to vote.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, can I ask, just for clarification, you said how many people use the in-person polling place from Blue Lake?
I would hate to be held to an exact number at
doesn't
this
have to
time,
be
but if
exact.
anybody wants to public request it, we'll give them the exact data from that. But I don't believe we hit even 200.
Okay.
It was quite low. Our absolute lowest, and I think the other lowest was at 200. So had to be beyond below that.
I think for the last, the election in November, those numbers are available on your website.
Correct. We didn't have any in-person voting, but the numbers are available for how many voters turned out.
That's it. Thank you.
From Blue Lake. So how many
Okay.
voted in the general election for Blue Lake?
But elsewhere, like with the Dropbox type situation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, everyone speak louder.
Oh, I thought I was. I thought I was.
There's
Great,
that diaphragm.
all right.
Okay.
Any further questions? Do we want to go ahead and select a date? That's our first task, correct?
Okay.
I would move that we select January 6th.
Why?
I think it's past the holidays, so it kind of helps folks to get some of that out of the equation. And also, it kind of gives everybody a little bit of a break, a little more space between the elections, the election that's going to happen in November, and this one.
Does anyone else want the 6th?
One of the things I was thinking about January 6th is it would, if it was the 9th, which was preferable, I think the 16th gets too close to Christmas, but the 9th would mean that the ballots would literally come out just a couple of days after the other election happens. And my concern there is just that confusion. I see this as probably being a fairly heated election about this redistricting. And I'm just wondering if a person gets a ballot right after they went and, voted, whether or not that would cause some confusion or allow this election to get kind of wrapped up in that if you were just getting another ballot right after you voted. So for that reason, I would probably go with the January 6th date.
Anyone else for January 6th?
I think I could look at each date and find a pro or a con with it. The con would be, it's just that much further out. On the other hand, it does put behind all of those other events. Wait, did I have it right there? I guess I would like for us, if we could have a crystal ball and know what date is most likely to accommodate the most voters, that would be the ideal situation. The concern that I have is anywhere in December, frankly, is that people travel and they're gone. So by January and after New Year's, people are back from whatever travel, and that could capture the most. On the other hand, the ballots come out sooner. So I know for myself, when I was looking and, possibly on the recall, I had looked at the date furthest out because it takes a great deal of time already just being a council person. And then there's real work that's involved to be able to address the concerns of the people, to hear what led them to the recall and to rebuild communication. So I think that it's not just a binary yes, no. There's a whole bit of work that falls on that person who is to be recalled. So when I was under that spotlight and felt it, I felt like, gosh, with everything else, I needed more time. So it goes either way.
Michelle, any comments?
I just keep looking at December 9th, just looking at it as being somewhere far enough away from Christmas. I feel that January 6th might be a little too close to those holidays. A lot of people are still traveling. I guess maybe some of the kids are back in school. It is. It's hard to just predict. We certainly want the most involvement and we want the best outcome. It is difficult to see, but there is a part of me that wants to get to work and get this done and not have it drag out into 2026. But again, I understand the other opinion.
And also the January 6th date would allow, basically the mail-in would be coming out in December 6th. And so that is after a holiday. It's not connected to the election, the prior election. And then, as Kat pointed out, some of the people probably most people would be back in town. So, yeah.
When would they be receiving their mail-in ballot?
December.
If we did it in January 6th, when would they receive their ballot roughly?
That's okay. Let me pull up some exact dates because that'll be helpful to the conversation. Apologies, I didn't have these canned. So if in the case of calling the election for December 9th, the ballots would go out on effectively hit mailboxes the week of November 10th. So it is following the special election. And they would go out the week of December 8th if it was called on January 6th.
December 8th.
Right. Did we just get them for all of the dates or the 9th, the 16th, and the 6th?
So it'd just be following the week. So if it was the 16th, the ballots would go out the week of November 17th. following, if it was called for the 23rd, it'd come out the week of the 24th. And December 30th, it'd come out the first week of December.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions from council?
Thanksgiving there.
Jill, just to confirm, do we need to open this up to the public again? Because
Well,
we-
actually, there's a procedural issue.
Okay.
You've got a motion on the table and no second, but you've been discussing an issue without a second.
Great.
So is there a motion for the second? So that way the audience knows what they're commenting on.
I apologize. What was the motion and who made it?
I made a motion to choose January 6th.
Okay, great. We have a first. We have a motion.
I
Do
have
we have
a
a second?
second.
We have a first and a second. Okay. Now, can we open up for public comment on the date?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Does the public wish to speak on that date? Yes, Adeline, go ahead.
I think that we need to look to the experts. And we have Nicole here. We had Juan Cervantes here earlier last meeting. And they all said December 9th was the preferable date. And I think that's one of the things this council needs to do is listen to the experts. And they're the ones that have to do the work here. So that's how I feel that December 9th would be my preference.
Great, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I think when the original dates were done, and I could be corrected, but there were two dates that were a no-go. The other date, December 6th, wasn't done either way. It wasn't yes or no. So as far as questioning that thing, I don't think that would be, there'd be any more of a negative thing be doing the 6th other than using your other two earlier dates, as far as that goes. And I do understand that everybody involved in this, if they want transparency, full education of everybody, if they want to just do a quick as we can and one and done thing, then of course they would rush it through. But the more time people have to understand the process in any election, transparency and the ability to understand, communicate, find out what's going on, and form an informed opinion, not around an area that already has a lot of political consultation. It basically does. And so I strongly would support the motion that's on the table. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Great, thank you. Further public comment? Seeing, yes, go ahead.
I think the January date is well advised. I think people get back into business mode after January 2 or so. And it gives all of us more time to speak with our neighbors and learn what our concerns are. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Julie, go ahead.
I support the motion, but I do appreciate correlating with the elections office with their best convenience as well. But I do support this motion.
Great, thank you. All right, last call for public comment. Seeing none, bringing it back to council for consideration of the motion. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 It passes 4-1.
I'm sorry?
The
4-1.
motion passed 4-1.
And who opposed?
I oppose.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so we have the date selected. Now we need to pick the voting method and location. So, staff, would you? So we're just picking whether or not it's mail
You
only
needed,
or.
so this conversation began at the front part, which was to determine the voting method preference.
Right.
I would say to have both. And the reason for that, she said that the election before was spread out over several days and there were 200 voters that used that option. The city of Blue Lake only has slightly over 800 voters, so 200 is actually quite a few. And so I would like to see both ways, in mail-in and in-person voting.
Great.
I would support that also. I think we've heard from a number of people tonight that that would prefer that. So I would support the in-person as well.
It makes sense. I don't want to limit anybody's ability. And as it was pointed out, after the holidays, cleaning up the mess, find that ballot. And maybe it's too late. Maybe we do need to have an option for in person because of the timing. It feels like maybe we need to accommodate for that.
Great. Kat, you here?
I think that I really appreciate what you're saying on that. I think that at every turn, we have to consider this nickel and diming effect of authorizing expenses. I think that $2,000, when there is already a clear way to be able to vote, no one is denied. If they're registered, they will get that ballot. There's over a month to get that in. So, and if there's that option of a drop box, or you can, go to the county, then, that's a second option that is available. But that expense of, $2,000 to be prepared for is significant when we're already looking at, possibly $10, $12, $15,000. So.
Great.
I do have a question about the drop box. So does that mean that there would be someplace here that would be open on that day, but it would just be to drop them off, or it's just a drop in somewhere within the community? How does that work?
So until we're not able to move forward with administering and finding a site yet, so we would have to find that location.
Okay.
So we could work potentially at the Prash Hall because the drop box would have to be open until 8 p.m. on election day. So we would have to find that location, pay any associated rental fees. We typically right now work with Murphy's Markets, Race Food Place, etc., to be able to put Dropbox locations all over throughout the county. We would not be able to utilize those connections at this point in time because none of them are currently in Blue Lake. So we would have to find a means to make that happen.
Okay.
But in terms of a Dropbox location, our office at 2426 6th Street in Eureka, right across from that Target, where the old Harley Davidson used to be, that's what they love to say, that will have a 24-hour outside Dropbox throughout the day ballots go out up until our election closes, of course, with secure location. And then the inside of our office has a Dropbox as well, open during business hours.
Mm-hmm. So if Prash was available, then there would be someone there on the voting day they could be dropped in there. No.
It would not be staffed.
It would
So
not
it
be
would just be a
staffed.
secure ballot box, what you see out throughout the county to typical election, that somebody would be there to remove ballots from securely, team of two, as well as at 8 p.m., team of two to be there to close it up and pull ballots because polls will close right at 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Jill, just for clarification, can I open it up to the public before a motion is made, or do I need to wait before the
You
motion
can
is
do
made?
either or. I do
Okay.
think that it's helpful if you frame the
Great.
discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Do we want to entertain a motion?
I'll just go ahead and jump out there and we'll see if it flies or not. I would make a motion to be ballot only, or with a drop box at Prash Hall, but not the whole kit and caboodle.
Could you restate your motion?
The motion is to have mail-in vote and a drop box at Prash Hall.
I'll second that. We have a first and a second. All right, I'll go ahead and open up for public comment.
I'm so sorry for that. We would have to, for that motion, we would have to have an exact language, whether you'd want that Dropbox at Prash Hall for the full 30 days or just on election day only, for us to be able to administer that properly for you all. Thank you.
That's good.
Great.
It's impossible for
So-
us.
I think to make it easy on staff, and one other thing, I'm going to withdraw the motion so we can clean the conversation up, if that's okay.
Thank you. Is that good with the seconder of the
Yes.
motion?
Do I have to?
You actually
I'm
have
good.
to consent.
I consent to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the idea being is, would it be Prash Hall for the Dropbox, or could it be appropriate to have it at City Hall since we have staff and the city clerk there? And
Point of clarification.
yes,
It would need to be open, City Hall would need to be open until 8 p.m.
Correct.
right.
on that election evening.
Yeah, from
Right,
7 a.m.
okay.
If it's election day only, it would be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. Is that something that city staff think that they could do or want to take on?
I would have to check with a couple of staff members if they could get here. I could probably stay late.
Okay. I'm just, rather than having to have it staffed at Prash Hall and having that open.
I may not be here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is it
Just
possible
realize
we
the
can
date.
hear from the public before we take a vote on this?
Sure.
Okay,
Mm.
thank you.
Yes,
We just have to have a motion.
Okay.
So
Oh,
do
I'm
we
still
want
trying
to,
to
do we
figure
want to
it
entertain another motion?
All right.
A different motion? Anyone?
Um, I would make a motion that we have both in person and mail-in ballot for the day.
So not a Dropbox.
Not a
Full in
Dropbox.
in
Yeah.
person.
Mhm.
I'll second that. All right. We have a first and a second. Can we open up for public comment? Does the public wish to comment on whether or not we have a Dropbox and official election site?
We can clarify.
I'm a little unclear on the motion. So is this motion a motion to have both the Dropbox and in-person voting on voting day?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I would support that. Thinking about myself at the holidays, I'm going to lose my ballot. We're going to clean house, people to come over. It's going to get lost, and then on election day, people are going to say, "I don't have my ballot." Anything that encourages people to vote, makes it as easy as possible, I support, and I think this is a good motion.
Great, thank you. Julie, go ahead.
I'm just curious on the time span that would be put on the in-person and mail-in. Thank you.
I didn't.
I'm not clear.
She said the
I'm
time
not
span.
clear with the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The time
I'm just on the time span that would be allowed for the mail-in and the in-person.
All right. So for mail-in ballots, you'll get those. Those hit the mailbox 29 days prior to the election date. That goes through USPS, so you'll get it within the week, depending on your address, and you'll have the entire month up until election day to get that postmarked or delivered to our office, depending on how you choose to vote. In terms of in-person voting, the Vote Center site the election polling site will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on whatever date, Tuesday, January 6th.
Great. All right. Any further public comment? Yes, go ahead.
According to testimony from Juan Pablo's office, I guess if you're gonna do it, it'll be the last time we'll ever do it. I don't see any reason for it. I think we've made the change and to save the $2,000. I support the fact that if you lose your ballot, like they said, you can plain and simply go into the Eureka thing. They can reissue you a whole new ballot at that time. And as long as you got there before whenever they close 5 o'clock rather than 8, then you can do the whole voting process. I see no reason to do this at this time. But if you feel it's absolutely necessary to spend $2,000 we don't have, I guess we'll do it.
All right. Any further public comment?
I just wanted to clarify a few things. Our office will be open till 8 p.m. on election day, Tuesday, January 6th. So let's say a Blue Lake voter did have a situation with the ballot, they could come into our office, we would issue them a ballot, and they would just simply put it in a vote by mail envelope and drop it in our office. So we'll be open, our office will be open on election day, administering the election. We won't, if you opt to not do in-person voting, we won't have ballot print on demand, but we will be able to reprint and get that ballot going. Not till 5 p.m. Our typical business hours, it will be 8 p.m. just as a typical election day. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
And if somebody wasn't able to come to your office, if somebody was missing a ballot and couldn't come to your office, what options do they have?
Simply call our office and we'll reissue, and that'll come to them via the mail. If they call us on a 7:30 on election night, the options are quite limited.
So anytime during the day on election day, what would be their options if they couldn't come to you?
The options, if they could not come to us on election day, would be, again, limited. We do have a remote access vote by mail accessibility through Democracy Live, which is our vendor for that. So they could go online. It's not online voting, but it's for folks who have had the situation, medically are not able to leave their home, aren't getting their ballots for whatever situation via the mail, and they can go onto a website. We help them walk them through it. They're able to print out a ballot or access a ballot to get to us, and it's duplicated onto an official ballot. So we do have accessibility means beyond just reprinting a ballot that everybody in the jurisdiction would have access to.
Great. All right. Last call. Seeing none, bring it back to council. So we have a motion and a second. The motion was to include.
To have both in-person and mail-in ballot with the in-person.
Can we get a clarification that that would be Prash Hall?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Prash Hall. Yeah.
So we have first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
2 ayes, 3 nays.
Can we list those?
Yeah.
Yes. So Bailey?
Bayless.
Bayless, sorry.
Mhm.
Aye.
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 Nay. Nay.
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay, 3 nays. So the motion does not pass. Do we want to entertain another motion?
I think the next best option, I'd make a motion to have the mail-in ballot plus a drop box at Prash Hall. Just at Prash Hall.
Okay, great. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 It passes 4-2. Did you nay?
Oh, nay. Yeah.
Nay. Okay. So do I need to read off the vote count? Is that what we're doing?
No, I just want to double check that we got the second. Thank you.
Michelle, yeah, I'm sorry, my hand.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
And
So
it was unanimous.
No.
No, I said nay.
Sorry, 4-1. Who
Nay.
was nay? Bays. Okay.
so do we need to request Humboldt County voter registers perform full services, or that's what we just did?
So we need to have approval of resolution 1240.
Okay. Can we entertain a motion to approve resolution 1240?
So moved.
I'm so sorry. There was no clarification on whether there was a drop box on election day only or throughout the entire time ballots are out. So I'm not sure if that needs to be worked in to make sure we administer it. The election just as how you'd like. Sorry, point of order.
Nope, that's
Well, how do we make an amendment to that motion to make it the one day, on election day for drop box availability?
Sort of look at Ryan
Do
for
it
the.
as a separate motion.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that it be a one-day Dropbox availability on the day of the election
First by Napier.
at Prash Hall.
We have a motion by Napier,
Second.
second by Louis Lusa. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Nay.
Bailey is nay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to pass resolution number 1240. And we have a second. Who was our second?
Oh, I'll second.
Louis Luso seconded. So we have first and second, opening up the floor for public comment on resolution 1240.
Hang on, before we do that,
Sure.
there's some blanks in the resolution that have been determined by our prior motions.
Okay.
So if the motion could just reflect the amendment to the draft to state the council's selected election dates and also the method of conducting the election, which would be mailed ballot. So if we can just incorporate that into the motion, we can complete the resolution before it's signed,
Can we say so moved?
as long as the second agrees.
Yes.
So we have a first and a second, passing resolution number 1240. Opening up for public comment. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. All those in favor of passing resolution number 1240?
We'll call the
Roll call. Napier?
Councilmember Napier,
Aye.
Councilmember Louis Luso,
Aye.
Councilmember Swatsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Scafani,
Yes.
and Councilmember Bales.
Aye.
All right, so the last point of business on this is to waive rental charges for use of Prash Hall as voting location.
So moved.
Second.
We have a. All right,
Done.
We have a first and a second. I'll open it up for public comment. This is with regards to waiving rental charges for use of crash hall at the voting location. Does anyone wish to comment on this item? Seeing. Do you wish to speak? Okay.
First was Stefani, second was Michelle.
Yes.
Thank you.
And again, this is to waive rental charges for the use of crash hall. Last call for public comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for a vote. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes.
Did you ask for opposed?
Opposed?
Yes.
Thank
Seeing
you.
none. Thank you.
It always makes it easier
Mhm,
when you're
mhm.
doing voice votes to make it clear.
See that.
All right, are we done with item number 5 then, correct?
All right,
Moving on.
speeding along here.
Still on page 1.
Do we
All
need a
right,
break?
moving on to item number 6. Sorry, everyone, for the wait. The city council's request to discuss and approve the memorandum of understanding, the MOU between the city and Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association, RCMBA, to formalize their role on fundraising, volunteer coordination, and community outreach in support of the Blue Lake Bike Park. City staff, would you like to fill us in on this?
Yeah, so there's a few things that are going on, one of which was just brought to my attention a few minutes ago. But the topic for conversation is for approval of the MOU between the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association and the City of Blue Lake. And one thing that I want to make really clear to folks is that since I've been here, this has been a pretty big topic. And it's also a topic which has become very enmeshed with a lot of different issues around, financing and the construction and the project. And then there's the MOUs, and this is my attempt to kind of break it apart so we could begin having some, productive conversations around it. So I wanted to start with the MOU. I am aware that we do have other people here who are also interested in entering into a similar type of agreement with the city, who are not members with the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association. So, I want to just identify that. So, what I want to bring forward and realize that I'm trying to put together kind of a history of different events that have transpired over the last few years, of which there's very little written record. So if there's, information that I'm fundamentally misunderstanding, it's simply because I don't have all of the information. But I can say for certainty that at their meeting of September 22nd in 2020, the city manager presented to city council a conceptual framework for the Blue Lake Bike Park. And staff was directed to return to council with a site plan to explore potential partnerships as well as funding sources and to develop a comprehensive project proposal for formal approval by city council. At the June 22nd, 2021 meeting, there was an update that was presented. It was a verbal update, which indicated that the project was in the design phase and it was being developed in a collaborative manner with RCMBA, Friends of the Annie Mary, and the Humboldt Skate Collective. And over the last 3 years, the Bike Park Initiative has garnered a tremendous amount of community support with a lot of volunteer efforts and donations into helping to create this vision into a reality. The RCMBA is a nonprofit entity, and they've been committed towards the realization of this project. I'm actually going to need to, sorry, because I literally just learned this, withdraw for a moment my recommendation for approval because Ryan noted that number one, I'm still waiting to hear back from Sierra, number one, and number two, it looks like the version that was included in your council packet was not his red line version. And
Okay.
that we didn't catch because there was a lot of different, files that were in there. But I do think that we need to open it up for some conversation because I think that there are, other members. I think that the Bike Association would really welcome the opportunity to both introduce themselves and engage in some conversations with council. And I believe that some council members may also have some questions and whatnot. So my apologies for the misstep on that one. but like I said, Ryan just gave me the heads up on this. And I will say that just to help put some framing around it, um, it sounds like probably if the council is approving in concept, moving forward with an MOU, then we're going to be looking for specific directions so that we can incorporate it into an MOU that will come back for approval and incorporate that. So that is where we are for this moment. Ryan can go ahead and add some of the pieces that he's got. Um, Quite frankly, the reason that I didn't catch the red line in is that we had compressed it so that you weren't reviewing a red line document. You were looking at the document in its entirety, which is typically what council is going to see. So my apologies on that.
Yeah, and I think, the red lines have been, and my understanding is the red lines have been reviewed by RCMBA some months ago. And so they're really risk mitigation concepts, with respect to volunteers, tracking hours, safety briefings, insurance indemnification, um, and lack of ability to incur expenses on behalf of the city. And so really it's the standard things that you would think that I would put in an agreement. Conceptually it remains the same. But if the council wanted to, there's also, I'm just seeing it now, provisions for ownership of designs, intellectual property, things that may be engineered, that the city would own those things, and that the city retains final authority over all aspects of project planning, design, and execution. That all work would be performed in accordance with all applicable laws, and that the city reserves the right to immediately halt any work as it moves forward. So, if the council was inclined to approve the MOU, it could be as part of the motion that it would incorporate the city attorney's red lines, and any additional input from CIRA on the insurance provisions. But I did, as part of my red line, incorporate CIRA's model insurance provisions for this type of work. So I assume they will be okay with that.
And I was just doing a quick little side with Gina Bauer, who's with RCMBA, and they have had the opportunity to see the red line version that Ryan had presented before.
Great. Any questions from council? Do you have a presentation or any kind of comments from? No. Great.
So are you suggesting that we would approve something tonight, even though we haven't seen the final version of it?
I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying you can.
Okay.
If you want to see the red line, we could either print it, you could review it tonight, or we could bring it back. Either one is fine.
Well, there's a couple things in here that I was not, that I thought didn't look right. One of them, and I failed to mark them, so I can't find them right away, but one of them was a statement that said that the city would remove all administrative hurdles. And that just struck me as being an odd thing to put in the MOU. Because it would seem that any administrative processes that might be in place would be there for good reason. And so I'm not particularly comfortable with that. And then the other thing was that any future amendments to this agreement could be made between the board of RCMBA and the city manager. I'm also not comfortable with that. We're here today with a history of things that didn't come before the council. So I think that it's important that any change to this in the future would have to come before the full council.
And just a note on the administrative hurdles, it doesn't say remove, it says minimize. Administrative hurdles to the greatest extent possible. We can strike that. I think there may be some administrative hurdles with respect to volunteer labor that could be dispensed with as long as they're tracking their volunteer hours and are responsible for volunteers. But you know, I wasn't too concerned about that one because it's up to the city with respect to what hurdles it puts in place, and the MOU really defines what those are, including some of the additional risk mitigation ones that I included as part of my red line.
Further questions?
Well, I was thinking about the one that's talking about the grants, and I don't know how much that holds the city liable or whatever for the grants, but if we don't even know what they are, then I don't know about having anything in there about us participating in grants if we wouldn't know what they are. That could be brought to the city council, but I would be concerned about that. And, you know, I do want to voice my concern about the way all of this project has been handled from the beginning. And that we are in this place looking at an MOU because it wasn't done a long time ago and it should have been. And there was no motion made by the council on that September 22nd, 2020 meeting. There was no motion made by the council, so we don't really know what if the full council was in agreement to this or not. And I know we are where we are today, but my concern is there's never been a project plan, just a site plan. There were 2 different maps that came out on this project. And those 2 different maps were just drafts. And what we have out there is not the same as those 2 drafts, neither one of them. We have something out there totally different. For me, I need to see a project proposal. I need to see something in detail, the cost analysis, what the city's getting ourselves into. This feels like we're putting the cart before the horse because we do not know what this is going to cost us. So we are looking at committing the city to an arrangement. And I commend our CMBA for all their hard work. I am not against this project, but I am concerned that we don't know the cost of this. We don't know the expectations. And right now, even when I went out there and walked it off, this project is very much larger than the map that was there. So how do we now, we also have a half pipe added to this, which was never part of the site plan. So my concern is this project has grown in a way, and what is the city committing itself to financially? Because we are struggling, and I get it. I just voted to add money in another realm. But the Parks and Recreation budget is not balanced. It is, we do not raise enough money in that fund to pay for what's going on. It is also that fund has grown by $200,000 in the last few years. So it is half of our general fund for Parks and Recreation. So my concern here is we're adding on more cost without being clear about what we're doing. So these are all my concerns that I would like answered before we move on to an MOU. Thank you.
If I could just clarify that the purpose of the MOU is not to give a green light to the completion of the bike park.
Right.
It's to formalize a relationship for setting a foundation for fundraising efforts, and assistance in design and completion should the council choose to move forward.
Yeah.
It's formalizing a relationship that hadn't yet been formalized. And in that sense, and going back to Jill's comments, we're kind of trying to approach this incrementally. And formalizing our relationship with RCMBA is something that we've wanted to do for some time, just because it was a document that was missing.
Right.
And so just clarification on it.
Right. It's, to me, it still seems as though we are all this says that we shall, and it talks about us being involved in the cost of this project. So I'm not saying this isn't a good idea. I just want to reaffirm I am in favor of a project like this. I would just like to have more information before I would go forward with this. Yeah.
So how long have we had the draft MOU for? How long has it been circulating around? This one's 6/11. May. Okay.
I could check.
It's-
I think Danny first gave it to me in May.
It also says like this is considered on a project by project basis. Is there like multiple planned projects or anything like that, or is that just to future proof this MOU?
You know, it's probably incrementally with respect to the things within the bike park that need to be completed.
Okay,
But this is all about the bike park.
got it. So ensure when it says ensure none of the parties' mutual projects are altered or reconfigured, what is that doing?
Where's that?
Ensure none of the parties' mutual projects is altered or reconfigured by RCMBA or members with
Give him a
consent from the
reference
city.
point.
Item number 7 under
C7.
C7. Apologies.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Thank you.
just a directive to RCMBA to comply with the city's design plans
Okay.
without the city's consent.
And then the advocate for RCMBA, is that like what does that mean exactly?
Where do you see that?
That is, sorry, D7. Say nice things to each other.
It's a favorable referral.
Okay.
Sure. They're a nonprofit that do a number of fundraising efforts, and certainly if given the work that they have and may in the future put in for the city, I think they're looking to be able to generate positive referrals.
And then I'm just going to agree with Elise on the city manager being the point of modifications of this agreement. We've dealt with the issue before.
Which one?
Unless that's standard, is that standard operating procedure to have the city manager modify MOUs?
It really sort of depends on the city and the relationship. And so I think that, for the time being, it would be prudent to go ahead and have things come to council. I mean, if it can keep things from falling off the rails again, it's a cheap way to manage it.
Great.
So what number was that, please?
That was
E2.
And then Ryan, FA, that's just a general statement. Mutual and indemnification. Each party agrees to identify and hold.
Yeah, so that's one of the significant changes that I have. There's two sections now. There's RCMBA indemnification of the city, in which we have full and complete indemnification and defense for the performance of work under the MOU by RCMBA, its members, volunteers, agents, and subcontractors. Any breach of the MOU by RCMBA, any negligent or wrongful act or omission, any violation of applicable laws, regulations, or permits, any bodily injury, personal injury, or property damage occurring under the performance of the MOU. And then the city has a indemnification of RCMBA for the city's own negligence.
Great.
And just to be clear again, RCMBA has had an opportunity to review that, and that was acceptable language. Yeah. So when we're going to get a chance, we need to make sure you're on the microphone so that it gets caught. Yeah. Yeah. No, not yet. Wait for these guys to do that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I had a question, number D4, provide any specialized tool, the city shall provide any specialized tools or equipment that RCMBA does not already possess. To what extent does that fall? Examples?
It currently, in the red line, it says subject to budgetary limitations and as approved by the city, comma, provide any specialized tools.
Gotcha. Okay, right. Thank you.
Good.
Ryan, would there be any issues with the California Public Contract Code, PCC, and CEQA, and the other applicable laws not applying to them running the project?
So the public contracting code is, this is volunteer labor. prevailing wage applies to works of public improvement that are paid for in whole or in part by public funds. Volunteer labor has exemptions. And the volunteers would be working through RCMBA, not directly for the city. That does not mean that the actual physical work may not require licensed contractors. And that's going to be, an issue by issue basis, but primarily this MOU is for fundraising and coordination of volunteer labor under the supervision of contractors.
And then donations that were received by RCMBA under the Blue Lake City's umbrella, would those be deposited in the city account, or how would those be distributed?
A little louder.
Yeah, sorry. So
okay.
funds that were received for Blue Lake, would those go into the Blue Lake Fund, or how would those resources be raised and managed?
So I think that's a really fair question. And I think it's a question that we need to ask our CMBA, how they are handling their accounting and what kind of auditing procedures might take place. So I can't speak to, how they are doing it now. And so that would be something I think would be appropriate to ask a representative of their organization as far as how they are ensuring that as they are collecting monies, how they are segregating them for some of their other project funds, or basically what that what their approach is. And then I'll defer to, this is a really different animal. I'll defer to Ryan if he's got some experience for what that looks like using a volunteer organization for conducting an audit of their finances.
Yeah, I mean, with respect to the donations themselves, in terms of which bank account they go into determines the donor's intent, right? If a check's made out to the city, it goes to the city. If a check's made out to RCMBA, it goes to RCMBA. And then RCMBA could make decisions as to, whether to pay for certain costs directly, donate those funds to the city, earmarked for the bike park. And so that would be, something that would be worked out as we progress forward. In terms of, auditing of funds that are raised, a lot of that's governed under the nonprofit law. Something that I don't touch. So
That's not what I was diving into. I was
yeah.
just generally about what happened.
Sure.
I would like to piggyback on that. On the fundraising part of it. Sorry, I think I'm being loud. If an entity, any entity, is to use the City of Blue Lake's name to do fundraising for the city, then I think that we should kind of hold them to a standard where if those dollars are in the name of the city, then we know when they have arrived and how, if they're restricted or unrestricted funds, that we would have a reasonable timeline for those funds to be dispersed, that the city would be able, and if they're unrestricted funds, then the city would make the determination of what is being paid first. If they're restricted, obviously they would go to that specific item. I think a lot of people have been working in good faith, but for city government, I just have a concept that we would be more formal in if somebody's using our name, then and they get a pool of money, at what point does that become utilized by the city and the determination for that utilization? I think those are terms that need to be examined and spelled out pretty specifically.
And I think
as
those
much as
are
possible.
those are questions that would be really great to get a response from representatives from the association, because they may have already addressed some of those things, and I just
Mhm.
don't have the answers, from me. But I would ask that a representative come forth in order to answer that kind of a question, because they'll be able to.
And then more than a
It
question,
removes it from the speculative.
right? And rather than it being a question, but having language within our MOU that addresses some of that, so that we know the parameters rather than, is it collected in January? We don't see it until November. Is it collected in January and it goes out the next day? Do they dictate who is paid, or do we make that determination? basically accountability is more than X comes in and Y comes out. It's that amount of time where that money is held
Right.
in the interim. I guess
So
that's one of my questions.
maybe a way to phrase it would be to ask the question how they have handled their donations and allocations to the city
Mhm.
to date. Because then maybe we could develop language to reflect if the council is comfortable
Mhm.
with the practice that they have already employed over the last 3-4 years.
So fundraising was one part, and then it's clear in this, and this doesn't have to do with the MOU, but I think there is a component where I keep hearing echoed that I think more is going towards staff, which is plans and specifications and estimates for the phases that have been presented. In March or April or both of this year, we were given a framework of about $40,000 fundraise, about $40,000, 45, spent out, and an overall project cost in the area of 75, 80,000. And then we're presented within Parks and Rec something that's going over to $500,000. So it's difficult to say, well, let's do an MOU without saying, well, let's be either specific or incremental in what we do so we can be mindful that we're all working in partnership and in step with each other. So, as a council member, I'm concerned that we didn't have enough information provided. And over a period of 2 months, it grew from an 80,000 to a 500,000 situation. So as Councilmember Bayless was saying, if what we had, we're adding to this, the pump track, et cetera. And again, this isn't necessarily an RCMBA problem, but this is a city problem to say, how far can we go on this? And we have to kind of look at it as if it comes out of our own pocket and as if we have to maintain this thing in perpetuity.
Right. So I'm sure that there are folks here that are a little frustrated with, kind of this whole conversation, but it's also a really necessary conversation because it's the
Yeah.
first time they're having the opportunity to express their issues and concerns
Mhm.
around this project as a whole. Really, I mean, as a body. So one thing I want to let you know is that, and it ties a little bit into the other agenda item that we're going to talk about. So I
Okay.
don't want to go too far down that hole, but um, when funds come in for purposes of the bike park project, it gets put into what is called Project 25.
Mhm.
So for every donation that comes in, whether it's a $10,000 donation or it's a $58 donation, and there are a couple of
Mhm.
smaller ones that have come in, including 16 cents. That's all being tracked as dedicated donated revenue.
Mhm.
And we know where the money has come from, when it has come in. As I talk
Right.
about in that other agenda item, anything over $5,000 should have been coming to council for formal approval. And I'll
What?
touch on that again.
5,000.
Anything
What
over
was it?
5,000.
Yeah, anything over $5,000,
Mhm.
according to city resolution, is
Mhm.
supposed to come to you guys for formal approval. That
Mhm.
hasn't happened. That's why this is all kind of mushy and messy. When funds have been expended from the donations that have been received, those are also coming out of Project Code 25.
Good.
So we do have that accounting
Mhm.
for where the revenues are coming in and then the expenditures.
Mhm.
So I'll hold it there because if there are more specific questions around, what that flow is, we can actually look into where the funds have been and for what purpose the funds have been allocated.
Mhm.
So I hope that kind of
Yeah.
clarifies a little.
And I have to back up because I get so caught up in the conversation. Really, one of the first things that I wanted to say to everyone here, to both staff and our city attorney, the other council members and RCMBA, is this MOU has been such a critical piece to be able to have a framework of conversation with each other. So, might feel like a bumpy process right now, but as you had said, it's a really necessary one. And right behind that is, it's clear that we will have this bike park and we all want to be able to do that. No one's trying to roadblock it, but we're just trying to get things back through a process that is logical, is conforming with policy, and kind of stays within the expectations that we set for each other.
And I think it opens up the conversations with each other and really solidifies the relationship so there's no questions. I like the language in area D about providing clear direction and feedback and all of those items that really looks like a collaborative relationship way where we are in communication with each other. I think that that's really important. So thank you for the work.
One more question, Ryan. So would they be, how would the selection of the engineers or other vendors be made? Would that be made through RCMBA or would that come before the city?
It become approved before the city.
Okay,
Mhm.
great.
And Ryan, can I ask for clarification then? So if this project is being done by donations, then nobody who works on this project, if they're only donating their time, then are you saying they wouldn't need to be a licensed contractor? That could change.
I'm saying that the main thrust of this MOU is the coordination of volunteer work hours
Okay,
through RCMBA's network. I mean, they
okay.
do projects all over,
Okay.
and they exist to
Mhm.
facilitate recreational opportunities.
Mhm.
And so, that's the main thrust of this is
Okay.
coordination of work days, what their obligations are going to be, what the expectations for safety and record keeping are. And those are going to be volunteers. They're not going to be, likely not licensed contractors, equipment operators. It's going to be labor. And we, of course, in the coordination of work days, will have oversight over that.
Mhm.
Um, the other aspects of the MOU is to provide expertise and support on design, fundraising, and other things that the city needs to do if it wants to complete this project.
Okay.
This is just one small aspect of the larger fundraising strategy that the city is going to need to fund incurred expenses and expenses that are going to be necessary in order to complete the bike park.
And to maintain the bike park.
And maintain the bike
Yeah.
park. And
That's gonna be a lot.
that's a different
Right.
discussion than just this MOU. It's just they've
Mhm.
offered their help, and we want to set forth an MOU that's terminable at will to gain their support and expertise and organizational capacity, because this is what they do.
Great.
Well, and
Any-
I just want to add, I mean, because things have become so convoluted, because there was, a project that was actually in the works, and there's a lot of questions about that. That's why I've done my best to kind of bifurcate, the conversation. So let's start with the MOU. We'll talk about some of the cost, but then moving forward, we've got a project, if you look at some of the proposed write-ups, I wouldn't say we're close to completion. But we do have something which maybe could be. And that will be a third conversation that will come forward to you guys for how we can get the site and project into a place where we can move towards completion.
Mhm.
And so does that mean we're adding the bleachers and the bathrooms and the water station and the observation deck? Or I mean, how do we want to do that? But that's going to be a third conversation that will actually start to address some of the concerns that you've expressed. But this was the only way that I could envision having a constructive and pragmatic approach to identifying and resolving some of the outstanding issues and start to minimize some of the miscommunication and misinterpretation of this. It's a little messy.
Yeah.
And so
I appreciate your separating those out.
Yeah.
There is one thing, and of course, it's always money is the answer to it. But before we even go that far down with bleachers and this kind of extra layers of development, I think we need to have a community visioning to see what is the overall purpose that we're doing here. So I think before we run too far down that road, I mean, it's definitely a conversation to be had, but I think we also need to do it in the context of the larger picture of Blue Lake itself.
So I agree, and I would offer two things in the moment. One is that we hear from a representative of the Bike Association, in addition to other members for other organizations that may be here. Number one. Number two, um, I would envision either for that third piece of being able to have conversations with those representatives, potentially the Park and Recreations Committee, as well as council. But I don't quite have a structure in mind yet because there are a number of moving parts. Right now, you've got a project that had a grading permit, as Terry identified. It's bigger than the grading permit was permitted for. And the second is that the Planning Commission approved a project. And one of their conditions of approval was that should the project change, it has to come back to the Planning Commission. So there were some pieces that still need to get, circle back on, and that would be that third part of the conversation. And that's the piece. And then of course we talk about the total cost, right? And all the other pieces. And it would have been a lot cleaner if these conversations had been held a couple of years ago and a lot less frustrating. But we are where we are today, and so let's see what we can do to kind of make our best and find a way to move forward with it. But I would ask if council would provide an opportunity to Gina and maybe JT to address you after they've heard some of the things that you've expressed.
Yeah.
Great.
I have just one quick question. So Ryan, I won't go through all my stuff here. After I see the red lines, if I have any other question, I could call.
Please.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Go ahead. Whoever wants to represent.
I'm Sean Tetra, co-chair for RCMBA. So
Sean,
I was there at the beginning of this conceptually. I believe there's a small little kind of Crayola crayon type of concept drawing that I generated that was brought before the city council way back. I think that's the first document you have. The intention of that was that it would be help communicate the concept of what the city was interested in doing, because we were approached by the city to do this. And then brought that to the city. And at that point, the city kind of ran with it. So we've been supporting the city in this process, advocating for donations, gathering community support, volunteer hours and things like that. But just to be really clear, although we absolutely support it, we haven't been driving the process. So there are two things I think here. One is the MOU, and one is the bike park. And I think you did a good job of kind of saying that they're two separate conversations in a way. The MOU, we have a very similar one in place with the county, and that's really designed to help keep us on the rails, like we were talking about. So if it's at all possible, it would be ideal to kind of separate those conversations. The bike park, yes, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. So, and it would be lovely to get that back on track. But I think if we can focus on the MOU and make sure that everybody's concerns on the specificity of that relationship are taken care of, and kind of back burner the bike park for the moment. I mean, I think that might be the best way forward, if that makes any kind of sense.
Could you state your name again, please?
Sean Tatro, the co-chair.
Thank you.
Sean, who approached you? Was it city council or Mandy or?
Mandy was really excited about what was happening on the trails up there and was really interested in advocating for kind of a recreation-based economy. And at that point, I think the project on down there with the housing in the Powers district was kind of potentially coming online, and the thought was the city could provide this amenity, and then we could help contribute, help facilitate.
Great.
And I think it was, hi, Gina Bauer, thank you. So it was also kind of piggybacking on the success that we had in the city of Fortuna, where we built a smaller scale pump track there in coordination with the city, donations, things like that. So there was a lot of kind of positive community rallying for more of those. And you'll see that we are we were involved with the design and permitting for the one that's in the Arcata Community Forest, building in the McKay Community Forest as well. So they're very popular, and that's kind of how we got involved. But I would like to say that this all kind of happened around pre-COVID times. And I think that we were on a good path during that time. COVID happened and it sort of took process out of the picture for a lot of systems and projects and things. And then suddenly things came back online. I think that we were just as surprised as maybe some of you when dirt started moving out at the project area. But again, we're here to support. We came full in. We brought the volunteers, the community donations. I want to be clear too, it's not just us. Humboldt Skate Park Collective, they have contributed a substantial amount of money. It's now considered the Humboldt or the Blue Lake Bike and Skate Park because there is that other phase to be considered. So there have been a ton of local Blue Lake residents putting in a lot of time, effort, donations. So I think it was really a communal push to get this built. And I think a lot of the questions are being directed to RCMBA, which is fair. And we definitely want to help coordinate next steps moving forward. But we certainly aren't the only ones involved and not the only drivers of the project. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
And hello, my name is Justin Whaler. I have been contracted by the RCMBA to help lead their fundraising efforts. And there were some questions that came up earlier about fundraising, and I just wanted to maybe clarify what that looks like moving forward. So, what we've done is built up a framework for campaign and project specific fundraising instruments, meaning that, if you want to donate to Blue Lake, click here. If you want to donate to McKay, click here. If you want to donate to just the RCMBA General Fund, click here. But our goal is to make sure that our members and anyone else, donors that we work with, have a possibility to actually choose where their dollars are going, and making sure that we coordinate with the city of Blue Lake to make sure that we find a best practice to move forward with when dealing with that Blue Lake Fund. And ideally, too, we would like to have one singular fundraising instrument to bring out to the rest of the whole entire county and all donors alike, because I feel like with some unity in our messaging as well as unity in where to donate, I think it's going to be a lot easier for us to get funds in the door and make sure that no one is confused here. So just getting on the same page with all of you is our utmost, that is what we want to do today. So thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Justin.
Any other specific questions we might be able to answer while we're all here?
What's your membership?
We have roughly 800 members.
Do you want to open it up for regular comments?
Sure.
You do have other people who would like to address you. So.
Great. Yeah.
Maybe if
Go
you
ahead.
guys could stand by in the event that there's a question.
Absolutely.
Does someone wish to comment? Yeah, Glenn, go ahead.
And to be clear, Glenn, if you could make sure you're identifying whether you're speaking as a city employee or if you're speaking for yourself.
It's a little bit of both. The first one is an employee of the city. We've worked with RCMBA. They have a bicycle race here to a year, and we let them use the area for their campers every year. They get a special events permit for that, and every year the area is a lot cleaner after they leave before they get there. They're stewards of the land. They take good care of it. And to me, that shows what a good organization does. Okay, on a personal level, we need to, as for the city, we need to take advantage of this group who works very hard. We need to take advantage of their help that they're offering us. And well, I know we need to get all our ducks in a row, but not taking advantage of the group and any other group that wants to volunteer is not a very smart thing to do. Right now, our staff is working very hard just to keep up with other stuff going on. And I think it's important personally to have some, things in the community for kids to do rather than play on their computers. And right now, a lot of people are interested in the bike park. And if we can get the kids out there with the physical activity of riding their bicycles, and keeping them off the computers and video games all the time, I think that's good for the whole community. So that's my opinion on this. And, we shouldn't turn down any help we can to help achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Well, for starters, I wish to apologize to you folks and everybody else because you have been dealing with a situation that, in my opinion, was not handled professionally. I mean, we should have had an MOU for the start. I mean, I think we've learned a lesson. We're not going to do multi-million-dollar projects without having 100% understanding. I think that's something that was a flaw that's put us where we're at now. I did wish I had other comments. I had some of the comments, the same as what you had on some of these different topics. I don't recommend you move forward with a red line copy that hasn't been provided to the public for us to review. At this time, I think that's just not necessary that we have review on that things. C9, I looked at something there regarding C9, and it has something to have yearly updates or as necessary. I think should be put in there as determined by city or the bike association. Same on D10, and then I did also see on D4 shall provide specialized tools. I'm glad we have a red line on that one because that was an unlimited. What do we need? It could be $1 million to tool to finish it. So glad you picked that up on that one. Or if we did, we'd have a dollar limit. I think that's been taken care of. Number 6 here on this one, I think it's G, seemed to be a little bit too vague. That would be under DG. So you may wish to take a look at some of those things. Also wanted to point out that I do believe we have a thing where this can be mutually terminated, the MOU, with 60 days notice. I think that if you're going to have a dissolution of that kind of thing, there should be a process for that. As far as how that works, it's just about like a divorce between us and them, and that thing. I think everybody should know how that would transpire. Strongly suggest other people coming into this be participating. Everything from the tribes. There's all kinds of fundraising. People sponsor these things and just plain and simply pay for them. You could get Patrick Cleary at the Area Foundation, Humboldt Area Foundation. George Schmidbauer is the kind of guy who writes a check when he likes something like that. So strongly support this project. It's a wonderful thing. I have done a PRA request to see all the permits and the engineering that would be required for this project. Being a general engineering contractor and having spoken with somebody who actually is a project manager for these things are designed extremely express with exact tolerances. And a lot of that has to do with designs experts do for safety. So engineering on these things, in construction, I call it cut to fit, paint to match, and we just do something. But unfortunately, when we get this kind of realm, we pretty well have to cross our T's and dot our I's. We design something that is a hazard or that could cause a problem. Neither you nor us want to be involved in something of that nature. So I'm looking forward to seeing the stamped engineered plans and compaction reports. And so those are the kind of things that we all need to do as we move forward in this project to make sure it's done to protect all of us, liability-wise, yourself, and us included. Thank you so much for being here tonight and everybody else who wishes to participate.
Thank you.
Further public comment?
One quick little note, last note.
Sure.
I want to reiterate again, I strongly suggest that keep in our minds that the bike park and the kind of the mess of that project be somewhat separated from the MOU. And personally, no objections to any of the red line comments. I mean, it all makes sense. We're not trying to hoodwink anybody. We're just trying to set up a framework for a partnership moving forward so we can begin getting this thing done. So MOU here, project there is my suggestion.
Further public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Council. Thank you for your time. Sean Fife, founder of Mountain Bike Travel Trail Alliance. I'm also a board member for the Humboldt Skate Park Collective, so I'll be speaking for both organizations. Also in partnership with Two Feathers Native American Family Services, Hoopa Valley Tribe, McKinleyville Community Services District, and working in partnership with the Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Services. I also serve as the specialized ambassador for Humboldt County. I'm trying to extend opportunities for youth, veterans, anybody in our community who needs that access to bikes, access to trails. This is why I do this work. Thank you for your time. I'm really just introducing myself and requesting a motion that staff review the MOU and draft similar MOUs for both Mountain Bike Travel Trail Alliance and the Humboldt Skate Park Collective for approval, changing only item A, the introduction, and item B, statement of mutual benefit and interest. I'm crafting those to match the organizations, Mountain Bike Travel Trail Alliance and Humboldt Skate Park Collective, with the justification being additional collaborations with NGOs who provide volunteer labor and staff will be more productive for the city of Blue Lake and the Blue Lake Bike and Skate Park, as well as our community. We have been waiting for a formal process to be developed, this MOU we're speaking of now, before getting involved with this project, except for, at my involvement with the board of Humboldt Skate Park Collective because they made donations. It's our pleasure to volunteer and partner with the city of Blue Lake when this MOU has been reviewed and developed, and it's our pleasure to serve and volunteer with you guys. So thank you for your time.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
Sean, I just had one. Thank you for that. And does our staff have your contact information to kind of put some of those things together?
Yes, ma'am. I've already met with Jill a couple of times, and we're in
Perfect.
discussion
Okay.
about this MOU.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
There are a lot of people who are very interested in.
Just to confirm, we can't take we're in public comment, so we
You're in
can't
public
ask them
comment.
questions. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
We can't ask the public questions right now because we're in
You
public
could
comment.
ask them a question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Especially when he asks
Wait,
if you
so
have any questions.
Just the mountain bike trail,
Mountain Bike Travel Trail Alliance.
tribal trail alliance. Thank you.
Yeah, we work primarily our biggest partner is Two Feathers Native American Family Services.
Okay.
We have an MOU with Hoopa Valley Tribe. We're talking to the Karuk Tribe, the Garot Tribe.
Mhm.
We're in partnership with Evergreen and working on extending our services out in the valley too. So they're pretty big reach.
And I think RCMBA has done a great job in expressing some of the different ideas and the contributions. Is there something that you feel like with your organizations that kind of like, here's a real distinguishing feature that you guys focus on that the council should be aware of?
Yeah, we work with a lot of youth. This last summer we engaged with well over 1,000 youth through our summer programs.
Mhm.
We intend to bring them out to volunteer to do the work out here,
Mhm.
have ownership of the process. We have kids that have wanted to be part of the process, but again without a standard process for doing that and getting involved in an MOU that was developed. I didn't really want to bring people around, so I'm just waiting for us to be at this point, and here we are, and we're ready to volunteer. So we're happy to help.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any further public comment? Yes, Adeline, go ahead.
So just to clarify, there was never a problem with our insurance pool regarding the bike skate park. Donations from the RCMBA were put into a fund, and it was a line item fund that the city tracked. We're not the first city to have a bike skate park. We won't be the last. Our neighboring city, Arcata, has a skate park. I would much rather see children using the bike skate park than climbing the dangerous, dilapidated old Blue Lake power plant. That's another story for another time. This bike skate park will be a shining jewel in our town. This weekend will be the enduro race. In the past, these have been well run, and when the folks leave, as Glenn pointed out, they leave the place in a pristine condition. They are good stewards of the land, and I support you.
Great, thank you. Julie Christie, go ahead. Oh yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, Julie, one sec.
Good point as ever, right? Okay, Brian Course, City of Blue Lake. I live in City of Blue Lake. RCMBA member. So this is like a Parks and Recreation project, correct? They were excluded from this 100% with zero involvement. So now we have public safety writing the rules for the bike park. Helmets, knee pads. Someone with a clipboard writes you a fine. Is that what we want?
I'm going to have you speak a little louder.
Public safety wrote the rules for the bike park for the soft opening. Knee pads, elbow pads, helmet, And if you were in violation, they're gonna write you a ticket. Is that what we want? So my question is, we're going forward with an MOU. It needs to have one commission taking charge of who the liaison is with RCMBA and the skate park collective. So we don't have 4 or 5 different commissions having their hands in this mess. That's my personal take on it. So.
Great.
that's all I got.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I think a comment on that is council, I think as a council member, I can say that I look forward to a time when council can coordinate the agendas of the commissions with the goals of the council as kind of expressed by the citizens. So that we're kind of working together rather than bumping against each other.
So, sorry, I think, in part, the MOU, the purpose of the line in the MOU talking about working with the city manager, although maybe it needs to have leeway for things to come back to the council added in. I think the purpose of having the city manager would be that is the point of contact that, you know, we would run to and work with, and that would rely on that person to advise us of when certain processes need to happen, you know, when this is a Parks and Rec problem, when's it an insurance problem? And so that's why we're trying to kind of define that role, if that makes sense.
Great. Yes, go ahead.
That does make sense. I'm Jennifer Course. I'm also a Blue Lake community member and RCMBA member, and I'm just up here to say that I support moving forward with an MOU with both the RCMBA and the Humboldt Skate Collective and other community members. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Julie Christie, go ahead.
I'm here, you guys. I'm just scrambling all my critters. I really just want to thank everybody in the room tonight. You are all volunteers. Any individual that's donating their time with the intent of greater good is a volunteer. And I just that extended through that time period, though, that continued with this lack of dialogue, though, unfortunately. Many people asked for updates. Many people asked for clarifying things. There actually was a section of meetings during 22-23 that were never allowed once for the day to be public record. They were actually never, ever allowed to do that because, and I complained, but the mayor and manager allowed it. There's a lot of content during that time about the bike park, unfortunately, and other projects. But going back to like what Jill was saying earlier, this is really like the cart before the horse, unfortunately, even though we have a lot of commitment and time and emotion put into it. But just giving some input from my years of continual volunteer work for our local arenas and junior livestock kids and working with the city of Blue Lake since I was like 10 for that arena. What the clubs could do right now while we need to get all these sticks in a row is at least list our city as additional insured and fill out our volunteer forms through the city. That's something that's very simple and easy to do, and it kind of might clear up some stuff. And MOU is very great, but it's kind of like superficial paperwork. And for now, I think we do need to get back to like what Terry was commenting earlier. You know, the site plan, the fingerprint that originally was given for that site plan, did it expand it? Yes, substantially. And was there a lot of review on the layout and the planning of it? No. But it is what it is at this moment, but we really do have to figure it out. So what I had to do too back in the day for Blue Lake, I used to donate every year doing pony rides and stuff and give the money back to Parks and Rec. And for a while, the money was just going in the general fund. I was like, you guys, that's not fair. So they actually started ear tagging it. So maybe a request too from RCMBA that any monetary funds that come in at this point in time is actually written out to the city. And then there is a fund ear tagged for it. Now, Adeline mentioned it earlier, but maybe that was during one of the meetings that was redacted because that's not public record. But let's keep moving forward. I think maybe doing an ad hoc tonight would be the best decision. Let's do an ad hoc, get some representatives from these clubs, and let's bring it back in order of where we need to really start from to move forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Julie. All right, last call.
Sorry.
Sure.
One real
Yeah,
quick
go ahead.
point of clarification. My understanding is that all the donations we made have been earmarked and managed and tracked correctly at
That
this
is
time.
correct.
So I just want to make clear that that was
Yeah.
happening. And the other thing I wanted to mention is RCMBA wasn't at all of the meetings in terms of things being, once the initial process was taken over by the city, there was an engineer, everything was kind of got rolling and the footprint began to grow. RCMBA was not necessarily involved in those elements or meetings that were involved in that. Like once the dirt started moving, as Gina mentioned earlier, we were surprised as well. So I think we had some really enthusiastic community members that were going to run with the potential, and that's what kind of I think got a little out of hand. So
Good intended, well-intended community members.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to say one more thing is, there's a ton of momentum going around this project from a fundraising perspective. Currently, right now, the Blue Lake Bike Park and what's been done so far is is documented well in a film festival about a documentary about RCMBA that's seeing its way to 38 locations across the country. We're actually going to be hosting that film festival here in Eureka at Eureka Theater on October 30th. If any of you guys want to come out and see what's been done, just to make sure that everyone's picturing this the same, because I think when you guys start to see the video clips of how much labor went into this, and how many people are just completely invested emotionally, physically, financially, I think that you guys are really going to want to try to move forward with this, because again, like you said, right, we have a ton of people that are really hungry to see this project to completion, and you guys are not in this by yourselves. You guys have the community here to want to take that on with you guys, so looking forward to doing this.
Great. Any further public comments?
I had a little something I wanted to share. I don't know if you folks can appreciate some of the swirl of emotion and politics that have surrounded the bike park just recently. I mean, a lot of us are very much aware of it, and it's really unfortunate. It's become very personal. The bike park conundrum, if you will, has been weaponized against several of the members of this council. And so, and just in the last couple of weeks, the fencing securing the bike park seems to keep disappearing and then coming back. And nobody, I think there's an explanation in there somewhere, but we haven't heard why. It seems like there's a lot of misinformation. There's some pushback. There's some games. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that isn't in this room, that isn't part of the folks that are here to talk about this today, right? So we've been taking fire about this thing for months. I'm being recalled. And one of the reasons I'm being recalled, and there was enough signatures gathered to recall me, is because of this bike park. And because the members of this council were asking questions about the bike park, right? So I'm not blaming anybody in this room. I don't want to blame anybody anywhere, but this big ball of wax we're all trying to digest right now has caused a lot of emotion, a lot of grief for some folks. And I think everybody in this room wants this to just turn into this great big kumbaya project that we can all be proud of, that we can all work on, and have generations of enjoyment out of it, right? So I think part of what I feel like I just need to say is that we all just need to understand the charge that this project has for all of us. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. Right. And I just really, from my heart, need you guys to understand. I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you're talking to us, and we're talking on this level, and we all are showing how much we really want to work together, because we do. Nobody at this table ever wanted to shut this project down or bulldoze it or tear it down or any of the ridiculous rumors that have been circulated, right? Nobody ever wanted that. you know.
Yeah, and I believe, so we met shortly after the new council took effect, and we were assured of that. And that has been, our message to our members, our message to the community. My response to Ryan Burns when he called me the week after, he had heard those same rumors. You have assured me, Mayor, several times that you were on board. Personally, the council was on board. I do, my husband's on Eureka City Council, so I feel for all of you. And when the caller on the line said that we're all volunteers, that includes all of you as well. And so I think that, again, all good intent is where this has started, and where I see it continuing to go. I have really appreciated my conversations with the interim city manager over the past couple of weeks, and just really understanding the need for this process to go backwards, is how some people would call it, but it is actually just going to foundation, and we are completely understanding of that from our perspective. So yes, there is a lot of angst. We have the big bike race this weekend. When we had the youth race here, several hundred people from out of the area came into Blue Lake, and we had the soft opening. There was a lot of energy around that, and there was hope that they would come back to an open bike park. So when we have donations coming in from our membership, many of whom are from out of the area, and we say we're fundraising for this project, and then they come and we're at the same spot. I mean, we are also having to speak to our membership, and so that is sort of our push moving things forward as quickly as possible, but definitely want to make sure it's done right. So thank you.
So I'll just say again, when we kind of found out that there was some stuff with the bike park going on, Dana Creech reached out to me for assistance and help, and JT was involved as well. And you guys know full well that I was trying to get this project done ASAP. It was really unfortunate that decisions were made politically to try and slow that down, and just say I was a huge advocate of it, but I'm a little disappointed right now, to be honest with you.
Can you clarify on the decisions? I'm not familiar with the
I
decisions.
better not speak about it in public, but
So
conversations were had. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So
It might be a good sidebar conversation. I would like
Mhm.
to jump back to one thing that Elise did talk about, because Gina was really my first call when I learned that the panels had been removed. And I really appreciate that she was answering my call after hours. And this is part of, you have an individual in the community who's making a donation. It would have been really great if there had been some parameters around that donation. In this case, the donation was fencing, but it's also part of their business. And so when the cannabis festival occurred, he needed that fencing, but there was no communication with the city. Did somebody come and just lift it and walk off with it? I mean, so there was that kind of swirling around. So I did reach out to Gina and I said, hey, the fencing is missing. Glenn was out there late that evening as well as the next day trying to put tape around in order to just let people know that, hey, just because the fencing is gone doesn't mean the park is open. So there have been a lot of disconnects, and I think that everybody's doing their best to try to pull those pieces together. I did have a conversation with Tavis, and I explained, the importance of if those panels are going to be removed, then we need to know so that we can backfill them, because we absolutely have a responsibility of making sure that we're able to secure the site. It is really, really important that that site be secured. And, I think for the time being, it's not going to be an issue because he's not anticipating that there's going to be any events that are necessitating the use of a fence. But if for some reason there's some larger emergency, and sometimes public agencies have emergencies where they need to have fencing, we'll hopefully be able to coordinate better in order to secure that. But that I think has been it's little events like that that is contributing to some distrust around this whole project. And so by having a conversation at the council level, by having representatives within the group, I think we can start getting some clarity and identify some pathways to move forward. So.
Well, I want to thank everybody for sharing because I think we went from just a few facts to getting a little more emotion and color into the conversation, which is really important. And I want to acknowledge Sean, also the other Sean, coming out. And I think, maybe Ryan, as you take another pass at the MOU, do we maybe make it something where we get more specificity, whether it be on the fundraising or donations or having blanks to be filled in on what that might look like, but also developing a tool that could be used for this organization, A, B, or C.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely. Great.
I just feel like I think that everybody is really pro bike park and they're excited about it. It's been an unfortunate series of confusing conversations, and I think that has kind of led to some misunderstandings. Obviously, everybody's already said that. One of the things that this has put a magnifying lens on is our need to develop processes within our own selves right here on how we are going to move forward with who is going to be the point of contact, what is their reporting responsibility, how is that going to look communicating between the city manager and the city council, what are the obligations and how do we develop our processes moving forward. So in a way, this has been kind of a blessing if we want to, if we can maybe say that. But we really do appreciate you all being here to help us kind of connect the dots and really look forward to working with you. Thank you.
I have one more comment.
Sure, go ahead.
You guys stay standing here. Thanks, Jen. My name's Kevin Fisher, 311 Second Avenue. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm a cheerleader for the bike park. We have been raising money for this thing, every little teeny bit that we can. And we will be having a haunted house at the Grange, which will be a fundraiser for the bike park. So I just want you guys to be aware that we're trying to do this voluntary thing to get this thing going.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right, let's call for public comment. Seeing none, bring it back to council.
So I guess then I just need some clarity on what the direction is going to be for the MOU red line version. Is there going to be 2 MOUs? Are we going to bring this back at the next meeting, or how is that?
It sounds like bringing it back at the next meeting for
Okay.
a review with the changes to date and also changes between now and the next meeting. We can highlight those.
Can I ask if we could say next meeting or the following? One of the reasons that I clearly grabbed the wrong one is that having, it was about a week and a half to put together all the agenda items that are before you guys tonight. It's too fast of a turnaround time in light of all the other obligations. And I would also like to make sure that we've got an opportunity to talk with some of the representatives so we can just run it past them.
Yeah.
Unless you guys are needing something in 2 weeks, I would really like to be able to have an opportunity to vet it and maybe even bring them all into the room at the same time. So we are identifying as much of a template kind of approach that we could use. And I think that would be a higher and better use of our time.
Can we go ahead and contribute to this MOU as well? Or can we have a session to do that? Or how would the best method of contributing to it?
If you have suggestions now, great. Otherwise, when it comes back, we can revise it and, during that meeting.
Okay, great.
And I would suggest, because I'm trying to give you more than 72 hours. I don't know if that's been noticed. I've been trying to give you more than 72 hours
Appreciate it.
to review the packet, right? So if you're able to get your comments together and you can send them over to Ryan and to me, but especially to Ryan, then he'll have had an opportunity rather than thinking, while sitting here at the meeting about, potential unintended consequences, if you will. I think that would help to smooth the development of language.
Great. Thanks. All right, so do we want to make a motion to bring this forward as a future agenda item, or do we need a
I think we just
motion
need
for
to
this? or
direct staff
direct
to
staff to-
bring this back.
Yeah, I think direction of staff is appropriate.
Okay,
Okay.
so Jill, do you have clear direction?
Yeah, and if anybody has anything in particular they want to give me after the meeting, that's fine. We can take it and take a look at what's, there may be some common themes that come out and we can look at that. That would be helpful.
Do you want us to write down any of our concerns that we spoke about tonight, or do you kind of have those?
We'll get from the meeting today, but if there's anything in particular that you think is going to be of particular importance, absolutely.
Thank you.
And there may be some issues that are better suited for this third part of the conversation that we need to have, which is called, what is the project? Sorry. I mean, we know what the project is, but we don't know what the project is.
All right, moving on to the next item, item number 7. City manager recruitment process, received update from ad hoc committee, received content recruitment brochure, discuss and establish salary range, and consider amendment to expand scope of services with Tri-Peppy Smith, provide direction as appropriate. City staff, would you like to fill us in on this one?
I do want, before Kat begins her presentation of the ad hoc committee, I want to note that there are 2 documents that you have before you, and they're also available to the public. And they are labeled 1 and 2, and they look identical, but they are different. So if you're going to reference one of the documents, please identify, I'm looking at number 1 or I'm looking at number 2, so that way everybody is quickly on the same page.
Honestly, I don't know why there is a item 1 of why there's 1 and why there's 2.
Because
Well, they
one
are
is
two
the
different
limited
things.
services and
Thank
the
you,
other
okay.
is the expanded.
Okay, I just scanned them,
It's
so.
all
okay.
good. That's why I wanted to make it clear.
Thank you. See the numbers. Elise, since you're masked up, do you want me to go through on the ad hoc report and you interject as needed, or?
Whatever you
I
want to
think-
do. I just
I'll hit it with number 1. Scafani and myself were appointed as ad hocs on the on the city manager recruitment process. And as the public may or may not know, but the council and also city staff, and then a full-time city staff, and then a follow-up with part-time city staff, were provided questionnaires from Tri-Peppy Smith. They were different questions for staff versus the council. And they aggregate all of these together, some from council perspective, some from staff perspective. And then from there, they kind of merge them, and that begins to be the foundation of some specifics in the brochure. But it also, the brochure itself kind of originates within a framework that I think Tri-Peppy Smith has developed over time and is very successful. And then it obviously becomes catered to the specifics for Blue Lake. In the course of that, we'll be able to do that review. No, let's stick with the numbers. Thank you, Jill. That telepathic message. Item number 2 on this is receive the draft city manager brochure content as presented. So the reason why you have content, but you don't have an actual brochure, is we met the timeline for Tri-Peppy Smith to get all of that content, which is that aggregated info from staff, from council put together, but then it has to go to the design team. And so this is a review. This isn't necessarily a request for changes. If you do see a correction or a misspelling or an inappropriate word, by all means, call that out. But to stay within the time frame for Tri-Peppy Smith, their timeline, it's now at the design team, and I think that we should be seeing that brochure tomorrow, the next day, certainly this week. Any comments, Elise, so far on that, or keep going?
nope. Sounds
Okay.
good.
So before I move on, I just allow y'all to look over that brochure.
kind of assuming
Um,
everybody probably had a chance to read it before. Did anybody have any concerns or find any problems?
I guess the only question that I had, and maybe it's going to come up in the discussion, was the discussion and established salary range is different
Yes, that is
from
correct.
page 4 of the brochure.
Yes, and that will be our next item when you all are ready.
Okay.
Thank you. Good eye,
Oh, and
as
I had
always,
one
with
more
Michelle.
question about, and I'm sure you'll get to it, what
Mhm.
2 weeks of management leave was.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say that.
What 2 weeks of management leave is.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
in your
but I-
personnel handbook.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
think it's like, not administrative leave, but,
It's management leave.
but it, okay, but it's sort of, I would like comp time. Anytime that you're sort of in an executive level position, you're going to be working after hours all the time, so you have to be able to.
See. So it's not professional development leave.
No,
It's like
no.
actually time to make up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
PTO.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind of.
you have a finance manager, you have your public works manager, right? And you have a public works director who apparently doubles as your city manager. But the only person I believe that has been receiving management leave has been the exempt person for the city who is your city manager.
Mhm.
All of your other like division heads, if you will, they're all salary. Very unusual.
Wait, a salary or
You
hourly?
mean hourly?
Excuse me, thank you. They're
Hourly, yeah.
hourly, not salary.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching me.
Mhm.
So it's what's listed in the personnel handbook is that there's management leave at
Mhm.
I see.
this. I think that there's been a little morphing over time. I think at one time there were probably salary positions that
Mhm.
changed somewhere. And I think that for your next city manager, a review of the personnel handbook, your salary compensation schedule and everything else is
Organizational
something that would
chart?
be well
Mhm.
taken up.
Yeah.
So
So, and that actually brings us to the good point on item number 3. The reason that we need to discuss and establish a salary range for the position of city manager, as I said, this brochure information has to be specific enough to draw people in and yet broad enough that it can be a brochure. And Jill was kind enough to provide whatever information that she could as far as city manager duties, responsibilities, what information was on hand. And the only pay scale that was there, as we know, a former city manager had been at $80,000 a year for 10 years. And then we renewed the contract, we boosted that to 90,000. So when well, actually, then when we had an acting city manager, because it was an acting and we were moving this person up, they had to be hourly. So that $80,000 to $90,000 range was converted to hourly. That became the basis of what you're seeing for this $106,000. That's the only framework that they had. So when I was going through the brochure, I realized we can't approve this as it is. At least council has to talk about what that salary range could be or ought to be. We can always, I think Jill can kind of guide us on a little bit of a framework from there. But we can't, I couldn't just throw a number out there and say, put it in the brochure. This has to come before council, which is more work for Jill at the last minute. Thank you. So we're working on agenda item number 7, sub item number 3, discuss established salary range for the position of the city manager. I will say that I spoke with Christine at Tri-Pepe Smith. And of course, it's like, well, whatever you can afford. And I think she very politely was saying, oh my goodness, yes, it's very low for that. And I think we realize that too. But we have to balance between what will attract a competent, capable city manager versus the charm factor that we have at Blue Lake and what we really can afford in a budget. Numbers were tossed out between, I don't know, 117, 135. Jill, I think you had done some research as far as a few locals. Is there anything that you can off the cuff throw out?
not really. I mean, basically the information that we have in here, because while I was prepared to do that, Christine did note that she had already done just a quick gloss over. So that is where you see on page 2, that primary paragraph right there.
Thank
She
you.
basically summarized the information for the city managers and what they're earning from our neighboring cities. So it's
I wanted to, I mean, if I can just say, I I was interested, and there is a place that you can go and look, and you can look at historically at every single person who in California who served as a city manager and what year and what they were making.
on California Transparent.
That's maybe,
Yeah.
probably. But I
Mhm.
want to say that Rio Del is more than what I see here.
That could be.
And
Mhm.
also Trinidad is not listed, and that would be
Yeah.
the lowest one, given their population is low.
Not so much population driven.
No,
but
of
yeah.
course. But if you were going to take,
Right.
what duties
Mhm.
and responsibilities, jurisdiction size, or, city size, what their job
Mhm.
duties are, all of that stuff, and compare. But I was interested, and I felt like that was some important information. So I appreciate it being in here as a frame of reference to
Yeah.
looking at what we're doing here.
And I think that part of the challenge with using the Transparent California is that it's not current. So I think the
No,
most current you can get is 2023.
Yes.
And I'm aware that there've been a couple of changes with some personnel with some of the cities. So what their current contracts are, I couldn't necessarily say. So it just makes it a little harder to kind of glean that with the really short turnaround time. But I think what it does come down to is for these smaller cities, and it's really, I mean, I can't even give you a recommendation because we haven't even had a chance to sit down and talk about budget. And this is really difficult and awkward, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
But I also know that it's going to have to be a competitive salary. If you don't
Mhm.
find a way to make it a competitive salary, you might be
Mhm.
looking at a pretty thin pool of applicants.
I think something that was, I don't know if we talk about it now or just in the most generic of terms, Ryan, when negotiating these, sometimes there are other things such as the number of weeks starting for vacation or their management leave, or, consideration of a 4-day work week, if that was the buy-in with the staff. Could you throw out there some of the non salary, but still the benefits that are kind of negotiable that we could
Yeah, I mean,
consider?
there's contributions to 457 deferred compensation plan that you can work in. You've got vehicle allowance, cell phone allowance. There's other perks that you can put in. Work from home allowance 1 day a week is a popular one, especially if the person's commuting into Blue Lake.
Mhm.
CalPERS is really set and rigid, so there's not
Yeah.
much flexibility there. Most days, most times, most negotiations that I now see, it's all about the salary. The little perks here and there, those are almost expected on top
Mhm.
of a salary. And it's not an easy job to fill when it comes to salary expectations. Ferndale just renewed their longtime city manager at 118, and that's fairly low for the market.
He's also working 4 days a week.
Yeah. And that can be something that,
Mhm.
I mean, I think, Jill, something that you had mentioned, because I was saying like, well, if our bottom is, 80, 85, and I didn't even get beyond those words. And you're like, no, that's too low. But this concept that we don't want to do false advertising. We don't want to say up to $160,000 when we know that isn't going to happen. But we can also build into the negotiating conversation a higher top end that can be something that is achieved over time, provided we're hitting some other metrics, so that, if our top end was say 115, But we know that we could hope to grow that up. So, 120, 125, or whatever that number is. Do we right now decide something broader, and in the negotiations is where we really pin it down?
Well, you can also indicate that incentive compensation is negotiable. Because there's limitations on bonuses in the public entity context. But incentive pay, contractually guaranteed incentive pay, is something for which an employee can earn incentive compensation. So sometimes you see it tied to the successful passing of a tax measure, or notice of completion on a large public works project. And so, if we get to a point where the candidate that you really want, we just can't get to their salary expectations, we can tie it to increased revenue, completion of projects, things that mutually are beneficial. We just need to be careful in how we draft those. They can't, under the California Constitution, you can't just give out bonuses for past performance. But you can contractually earn bonuses for completing objectively described work. And so, we obviously need to scrutinize how we draft it, but there's some opportunity to increase compensation with increased revenue. And so that may be something to consider as well.
Okay. So we know on the brochure we have, sorry, trying to find the line where it actually talks about it, salary. Okay, under, it's on page 22, it says, we know it's only about page 5 or 6. Under compensation and benefits, salary range 75,000 to 106,000 annually. So tonight's very specific goal that we have to come up with is, what is that salary range? And we could maybe put in language with possible incentive compensation, or we save that. I don't know. Do we put that worm on the hook now? Or depends on the area?
It's hard to say. If you put it in there, they're going to negotiate it. But
Gotcha. Yep.
it's a lower salary in exchange for incentive compensation. So I don't mind putting it in there, or you can build that into your salary range. And offer a base salary with incentive pay that gets to the higher end of the range if it's somebody who's deserves the higher end of the range based on their qualifications. That may allow you to do a larger salary range. You can salary range X to X, comma, with incentive compensation, or including incentive compensation. You can say it that way, but it may allow you to expand your range if you assume a portion of it's going to be incentive based.
Well, I say we make it look as good as we can with as many, with the incentive deal. But not, I don't know. I mean, obviously we have a top number. We can't just throw something out just because it sounds good. And I don't know what that top number would be, but
And we have to keep in mind that we're going really on this budget, we're going from $80,000. We might have said 90,000, but we haven't really operated for more than a few months at $90,000. And at $10,000, I mean, each of that we're going to feel that, especially so if we're talking another 10, another 20, another 30. So
we're going to feel everything at this point. So yeah, I mean, none of it is neutral.
Well, and this is such a critical position. I look at what my kids made just stepping out of college. It's way more than the 74. I can't imagine somebody wanting to do this job at $74,000. I would be interested in tightening that up because I think having to work longer, and I think probably a lot of people are interested in your wages. The perks are great, but your PERS retirement is based on your wages and how long you earn those wages. So
you just made a point, and I apologize for interrupting, but I don't want to forget with CalPERS, there's a step system or like salary is salary? Because if we have a salary range, just because someone's starting doesn't mean they'd be starting at the bottom. It'd be commensurate with their skills and experience.
Okay,
Okay, good. I just want to clarify that.
okay.
And you may want to consider a city manager's salary scale that shows the person, if I work this long, I will move my way up the scale. Because I don't
Upon
think
successful completion performance
correct,
evaluation.
always.
Right,
Always
right,
that.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that may be,
Mhm.
you know, because you may get somebody who's a little green starting their career. Maybe it was a deputy city manager at a larger city and, you know, wants to move on to the top job for a little while. And, you know, you may not get them to, you know, city managers come and go every 3 to 5 years typically. And so, you know, a lot of city managers, they want to make as much as they can as quickly as they can.
Mhm.
Because they may not top out that salary scale because they may not be here 5-10 years from now.
Right.
So, you know, the more you can put in the salary, the more competitive you're going to be.
Mhm.
So do we just pick something and budget around it?
I think we have to put a bottom that we know or we can meet, and then put a top end that we would know is maybe could be tied in with incentive compensation, if we're trying to merge these ideas. But I mean, if anyone wants to throw out
I
numbers,
would like to start at 104 to one. I mean, I don't want to make it too wide, but you know, possibilities of to 120. I was gonna say 108 to 120, but maybe 104. That's around 50 an hour with the benefits that would be adding to that. So anyway, that's where I would want to start. I didn't want to reach too high and go 110 to 125, which is kind of where I kind of wanted to go. But then I'm like, okay, budget. We need to pump the
Mhm.
brakes a little bit. I absolutely 100% support a higher salary range than what we currently are offering.
Thank you.
Do you have any input, Jill?
Well, I was just going to say, you know, and there are times when you've advertised and you have your preferred candidate that they may counter and say, I'll work for you for 130. And then council has to have a really hard conversation around that.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so that's always a possibility, and it's always a little disappointing when it happens because, you know, especially with those entities that are very thin financially. But if you've got somebody, that might be something that you're willing to consider then. You know, so. So your recommendation is 104 to
120.
Did I say 120?
Yeah.
Although you said 125 was your first
Yeah, it
instinct,
wasn't-
I
Right.
want to
no,
overshoot.
Yeah.
Do we just want to like
Yeah, 104 to 120. Yeah.
120, 120? Do I hear 125?
I'll go low and go 95 to 100 because I know I'm not sure where we're at budgetary wise. But I don't think, you know.
Well, there's also a little strategy involved in the salary range, right? You can have a higher salary range with qualifications that are unachievable, right? Just to get people interested, get them to the table. Because if you see somebody they're like, oh, I want 130, and their max is 120, they're not even going to apply.
Okay.
Part of it's getting them in the door,
Mhm.
right? It's a
Okay.
salary range. You get to determine whether their qualifications meet the top end of the range, the middle, the bottom, and then it's all a negotiation from there. But I think part of it is getting them here, and not closing the door just because we're $5,000 to $10,000 off what their expectations are. So just a thought.
I'll say 100,000 to 120,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Sold John.
Yeah, well,
No, that's
at least it's a bump up from the base for sure. Yeah, that's why I was like 104.
no benefits. On call 24/7.
Oh, we're talking about me now.
Well, if we start at 98, that's 47.11 an hour for full-time. And if we go up to 24.8, that's $60 an hour.
Wait, up to what?
124.
124.8
Oh, 124,
equates to
800,
60
thank
bucks
you.
an hour. I don't know. I think we should start under 100 and hit something that
Mhm.
might make somebody think about it. So I think somewhere to think about it's got to be the upper 120s.
Terry,
Maybe
you know
I'll-
where we are at financially, I'm sure. So let us know what we can do.
Well, I mean, I think that just looking at where we are financially, but I think there's ways we might be able to adjust those things in the budget. And things that we might have to take a good hard look at, because I think staff is really important, and having qualified people here, whether it be our city clerk, our treasurer, our city manager, those are our main drivers of what happens in the city to help us move forward. And we want someone to look at this. And we have to realize that throughout California, there are city managers making $500,000.
Yeah.
And we
yeah,
can't, I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, to even
Yeah.
get someone to look at us, I think that 104 to 120, somewhere in there, is probably a good place to go.
Jumping off point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You might want to open it up to public comment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks. Does the public wish to comment on this item?
It's called Let's Make a Deal. Strongly support having a very high rate up there to get people's attention. I don't care if you go 170, 200,000. You want people to look at it. That's the whole thing, is to get people to look. What do we have to offer here that other people don't get? We've got Blue Lake, we've got sunshine, wonderful things. You actually have an asset, and I know a lot of the difficulty for people who come here from out of the area. Where am I going to stay? Where am I going to live? Well, I don't even know what shape it is here, but you've got a little apartment down here, part of your exiting, or used to. Don't know what shape in. Might even pay to have that thing get a major upgrade so it looks really nice and shiny. When you come here, you don't have to look for a house. You got a place to stay in for now. And so that's another thing that you offer somebody. It makes it really easy for someone to say, "Hi, I'm not worried about looking for a place." All these, so eliminate what someone is going to find as far as monkey wrenches for them moving and changing their position. Again, totally pertinent. You're going to get most likely either an older retired person who just wants to live in Blue Lake, or a young person who needs that certain resume thing that says I was a city manager. A lot of what people are going to look at here is the staff they have to work with. Well, we've got Glenn in Public Works. You're really going to have to worry about Public Works to speak of as far as that goes. I think the main thing you may wish to have is a real competent treasurer, finance person in here, because that's a lot of the job that this job is. And if Jill didn't have to worry about that at all, and all the budget stuff was handled, then her time would be quite a bit less. So pairing up your workforce with that person is what would make it attractive to me coming here. Say, well, what do I have to do? I think after a year or two, potentially you're going to go through be training day for 3-year things for people. That's quite possible, which is actually a good thing. You get different perspectives. Each of those people, like Jill is doing, is going to upgrade your foundation that you have to work with and make your job easier for the next person. And so as long as that continues on that basis, after a certain while, you might even get with competent help, like your financial officer and whatnot, you might get someone who can do this part-time. It actually is not that big a job if you've got the foundation set up for someone to do. I was thinking, a shared thing eventually with Trinidad, and that's be a perfect partnership to share a city manager. So I'd look at all those things, but I throw a ridiculously high number out there. It's just come look at this, and people go, well, I'm gonna look at this one just because it's got a big number. That's called marketing. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Great, thank you. Further public comment? Julie, or Lori, go ahead.
Hi, so I may have missed this, but the proposed salary range, does that include the medical and dental, or the dental and vision coverage, that price tag, is that included in that salary range, or is that in addition?
In addition to.
In addition.
Mhm.
Because that's a value
Mhm.
asset. to an employee unless they're at retirement age or whatever, but having employed people and, looking at the employer's share of cost, it does impact the salary range. So, thanks for answering that, but, that's an additional cost, that needs to be considered.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, that takes a bite out of your budget.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, and two, I mean, I don't know that you guys have a completed budget. So, that's the other part of it. It's like it's great to have a number and know what we need. But
Right.
without that budget information, it's hard to know what you really can afford.
Right. I was thinking for the employee. I was thinking for the employee that it would be, it takes a bite out of that budget, for the person who's making that money to pay for medical insurance in addition. You're right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it all counts and,
Yeah.
it has value. So it's sort of an uncomfortable employer, thing to have to say when you're trying to recruit someone. But it does count into that budgetary amount. And, as we all know, medical, dental, vision premiums are not inexpensive. If you have a good plan, if you have a really bad plan, then yeah, maybe you can afford it, but you don't want to recruit somebody with a bad medical plan, because that just bites you in the butt. So anyway, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Lori.
Could I just quickly note that the position has been full-time and has been covered existing through the medical and the dental and the vision. The city's dental and I believe vision is self-funded, so they are paying primarily for the medical coverage. We have received notice that the rates are expected to go up. It's one of the projects that I'm trying to get back to. And see if we can get some other quotes for some potential coverage that may cost the city a little bit less. But that mhm.
So I guess
another stack that I've got on my desk that I need to get back to. But in terms of what you can expect as far as a fiscal impact related to the medical coverage, shouldn't make that much of a difference because it's something that you've already been paying all along.
I see. I just wanted to make sure that it's clear in the brochure that what we have listed in here for medical is correct before it goes through that process.
I took a peek at it and I'm just going to double check it. That is correct.
Okay.
It may be a point of conversation that you guys have at some future date, but that is currently what the contribution by the employee and contribution by the city is.
Okay.
And I think that it helps to recruit and retain right now.
Any other questions?
Well, I think I'm going to throw a range out here.
Fire away.
But yeah, as long as the public comment is done.
Oh yeah, sorry. Any more public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to council for consideration.
What do you got, Kat?
Oh, doing it right now. Checking on my Ouija board. I have it downloaded on here. I do think it's not a bad idea to kind of look at it and sort of just throw in the final number, but relating it to an hourly, at least in our minds, for conversational reference. I'm actually close to where you are, Elise. 45 to 60 would put it at 93,600 as the lower range. The 60 is 124,800 at the higher range. That's what, a $30,000 range. And kind of as you were saying, I think it gives us a little more headroom if we had to go higher. but it would be painful. I mean, we are kind of throwing a dart right now for their budget. So, and I think there's something about that, having that lower wage can still, that also speaks to people who have that less experience and are interested. It's not as intimidating. Um, and it's still $45 an hour is not a bad salary. When you consider these are really good benefits right now, and you're the boss. I mean, I'm not saying that anyone's going to be necessarily starting at that, but it gives us a fairly broad range to move with. So
What were you saying the top end was?
I think I had 126. Oh, sorry, 124,800, and that's extrapolated from the
And your
16
bottom was
hour.
at the 45?
2080.
Is that what you said?
The bottom
Sorry,
was
yeah.
93,600.
Thank you.
96.
93,600.
So I like to propose, I like the 93.6. I like to propose that we go up to 128,960, which is an hourly rate of 62. I like that. I like our upper range to be a little closer to 130. And sometimes I package this in my head
Mhm.
by thinking, okay, if this person that we hire is an excellent
Mhm.
grant writer, has all this experience, and can target certain grants and get something done
Mhm.
without having to hire somebody else to do it, without having, if that person has some skill where we don't have to hire another contractor to do something for us,
Mhm.
we earn that money back in one project or one grant application.
Right.
So
I agree. I mean, and that's going to come through the interview process. But for tonight's purposes, we really have to put a realistic salary that most likely, hopefully, and absolutely kind of we can meet. And I think the 120s and the low 120s can be a painful stretch. That's another 30,000. And then we also right now don't have a city clerk on the budget. Thank you, Jill. And Laura as well, because that is something that we have looked at developing into a, like a 0.8 or full-time position. So, I would just say take another look, and considering we had 120, feeling like an instinct of 125, John at a 120, Terry, you were 120. I think that really is saying something very close to that. So.
We can always give them more if they're great.
Yeah, but I think it kind of, I think I hope it's attractive enough. It's better than the 96. I'm seeing odd faces. I'd love some input here.
Yeah, let's see the professional
Yeah.
one.
I guess I'm always a little concerned when I hear people say, well, maybe they can write grants. You want an administrator. If you want a grant writer, hire a grant writer because that's a really specialized skill set, right? And so I think I would be really cautious around, well, we'll get a city manager who can write grants. I mean, if they're able to do it because it's already in their wheelhouse, that's really great. But most people who are city managers are not grant writers, they're administrators. So, want you to consider that. I think it's a great thing. I think that you had a city manager who was also very adept at writing grants.
Okay.
So,
Anyway.
yeah.
And-
So
and
I just want
grants
to
not with-
caution because
Yeah.
because I've heard that sort of a statement before from different boards around they can write grants, but you oftentimes will find an administrator is not necessarily a strong grant writer that brings home the money.
Right. Well, we want a strong administrator. Maybe they have some other fancy skill that we don't know about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Harry,
But I want to cautious
if
you.
if you were looking in the newspaper today,
Uh-huh.
and not for you, but just for somebody, what price range would you be looking for as a city?
Yeah, what are you thinking about our range ideas?
If I were a candidate looking,
Yes, correct.
I'd be looking at probably 118 to 140. Easily.
As the person who knows how much money the city
No,
has.
I mean, I understand.
Please tell
I
me
mean,
what range you're looking at.
If you take a look at your joint power authorities alone, there's a pretty big disparity, between and the scope of which they are managing is considerably less than the duties and
Yeah.
responsibilities of a city manager.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you asked, I'm just, I think it's,
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a
Yeah.
challenge. But I do think that 93 might be a bit insulting. Um, for some people, they might see that and say no. But the 124 starts hitting a little bit more of a sweet spot, and
Okay.
if somebody is looking at finding a way to creatively negotiate with the city, oh, I can do 122 if I'm working 4 days a week, and you're open to have that kind of a conversation, that might be
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
I just think it's you've got a finite amount of money. We don't quite yet know what that money is,
Mhm.
but um, I think a lot of it's going to come through the negotiation.
Well, and I think your candidate profile is probably somebody younger, less experienced, looking to get that line item on their resume. And if they see a 93 to 124, they're going to assume they're going to be, based on your expectations, towards the bottom end of that than the top.
Right.
And so, you may want to bump up the bottom because I don't think you're going to get too many people coming in here
Mhm.
taking a job for 93, especially with relocation and everything else that goes along with it.
Mm.
And the benefit of negotiating with your city manager is find a way to pay for yourself, right? If they want 130, we'll 6-month review.
Yeah.
Come to us with your ideas as
Mhm.
to how to increase revenue and save costs. Find a way to pay for it. Because ultimately it's their responsibility. So, I think getting them in the door, I think is
Mhm.
the big priority. And some doors, some people may not even apply based on a range. So it's hard because you don't want to set a high end of the range and they come in and they say, well, I'd like, 130. And you're like, well, we can't afford that. It's like, well, why the hell did you put it in the range?
Mhm.
So it's difficult, but I just hate to close the door on people that have much higher expectations, especially if they're coming from larger cities.
And along with the salary range
Mhm.
conversation that we're having is going to be a bigger conversation about what our wage scale looks like in the first place. So, um, being mindful of that, we're going to have to probably make some adjustments. But I feel like 50 to start should be 104. Still, maybe 105, get a little above 50, and then go up to 125, 124.8. I don't know.
That's what I just circled too.
I'm just thinking
Your range
we
and our
need to
range.
we do
Yeah.
need to start somewhere, but we do want to be mindful of where we're sitting and
Yeah.
what we can
Mhm.
really do. And then, maybe we need to make some changes.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Yeah.
get no hits. But I
Well,
think we will.
And
the
something
other
oh,
thought,
go ahead.
the other thought is you can fly it at this range. If you're not getting candidates to apply, you have to look at the range.
Mhm.
Or if the candidates that you're receiving just aren't what you're looking for, then you recirculate and you consider adjusting
Mhm.
the range again. So
Yeah.
it might be a multi-stepped approach. This isn't set in
Mhm.
stone, but if you're just not seeing the caliber of candidate that you're looking for,
Mhm.
you might consider that
That's it.
without overextending yourself
Right.
right now.
Right. You're right.
So, go ahead, Michelle,
No,
please.
that was it.
Okay.
No.
So, and that's a great segue, kind of going into that next point. What I wanted to share with you, Michelle, and kind of also with you, Ryan, is that one of the reasons I was really drawn with Tripepi Smith, is aside from seeing the quality of work, was their ability to place local candidates locally. So I think they have a pretty good pool like that. And while they're certainly focusing with, public administration, city manager experience, I think they'll kind of open it up a little more broadly, like they did with HCOG and getting Brendan Bird in. And wow, I mean, he's just what a find. So I think, yeah, if we get somebody from out of the area and it's a great fit, that's a wonderful thing. I don't know that that'll happen. That said, I would like to make a motion if we're ready. Are we done with public comment? Okay, I'd make a motion that for the salary range, consideration of starting at 104, going up to 124,800.
We have
I
a
would
motion on
second
the
that.
floor. We have a second.
Yeah.
By Louis Luso.
Any other comments on thoughts?
We need to bring it back.
Public comment on this? All right, bring it back to the council for vote. Can you repeat your motion one more time?
Make a motion to establish the city manager salary range from $104,000 annually to a top end of $124,800.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It would pass
Anybody
unanimously.
know? Anybody know?
Okay.
Oh, all those opposed? Hearing none?
Okay, done.
All right.
Okay.
With
There was
that,
a second part of the question.
Right.
Yep.
For the staff report.
wait, I had one follow-up with Ryan, but I apologize if I may. So, what you were saying earlier about incentive compensation is negotiable. What are your thoughts, since we know that the salary, I think you guys are saying a little low even with our high end. Do we want to put that in there or just see who comes and then, okay, I hear a strong no on that. Okay.
The next piece that you guys were going to discuss, and the reason that we're here is to have the conversation about whether to expand the scope of services with Tri-Tuppy Smith.
Exactly.
Correct.
Thank you. And let's move on.
Yes. So,
Can we
Um,
take a restroom break or should I just go?
we should, yeah, yes.
Yes.
I mean, restroom break. Should we just all take a minute?
Yeah, would that be okay?
Go ahead. Yeah.
What-
That's
what-
all I'm
Mike's
saying.
off.
I'm gonna take a cough drop break.